Chapter 141. The conjecture about the increasing difficulty of improving the power of balance filled Shen Xingyan with pleasant surprise. How is it that the rule of attributes becoming harder to improve the further they go in reality seems to have little effect in front of the power of equilibrium? It's probably a special effect of the power of equilibrium in the early stage, and it will slow down in the late stage. It must be like this. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but comfort himself. He felt a bit unsettled by such a strange occurrence. Then, looking at the attribute panel, which had 25 more attribute points than when he first awakened, he couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. If so many attributes were to be extracted from the star origin world, it would probably cost over 200 gold coins. Such an amount of gold coins was equivalent to several years of income for top combat professionist. But he, relying on his own ability, accomplished this impossible feat in just over 20 days. Now, thinking about it, he himself felt a bit incredulous. Although my attribute growth has been significant, it still can't compare to those combat professionists from well-off families. After all, they only need to raise their professional rank to 5, and then they can extract attributes from the star origin world. The quantity of their attributes would be more than mine. What's more, according to normal calculations, a newly awakened combat professional can generally reach rank 7 or 8 within a month. If they extract all the rewarded attribute points, their attributes would completely overwhelm mine. However, this only applies to those top combat professionists. If compared to mid-tier combat professionist, I, a farmer, still have a chance to fight, and I now have the bonus of 3 entry-level martial skills. If I were to clash with those top professionals, I might not be without a chance of winning. Besides, I still have 3 days, and with the training of the power of balance, I can improve even further. Shen Xingyan silently summarized his current gains in his mind. Thinking of his increasingly fast training progress, a surge of pride spontaneously arose within him. Then, he stopped pondering and immediately began his next training session. The re-optimized power of equilibrium was clearly much more effective to train with. Unconsciously, 3 hours passed while maintaining this training, until his younger sister's school dismissal time arrived, and Shen Xingyan reluctantly stopped his training. Although he was somewhat exhausted after more than 10 hours of training, it did not affect his enthusiasm for training. Indeed, after today's insight session, the skill progress gained per hour of my training has increased by another 0.5%, reaching 3%. Based on my current training time of 15 or 16 hours a day, it means I can increase my progress by nearly 50% in just 1 day. Converted into attribute points, this is equivalent to an increase of 2 attribute points, which is simply too terrifying. This rate of improvement makes me feel like I'm cheating. It's a bit unsettling. Shen Xingyan looked at the power of equilibrium's progress, which had gone from 9% to 18% after 3 hours of training. He subconsciously began to analyze it, repeatedly praising it in his heart, yet also feeling a sense of unease. After all, unprovoked evil certainly makes people furious, but unprovoked good, while making him flattered, inevitably made him feel a sense of panic. It was an instinctive fear of the unknown. Shen Xingyan's state was like this at the moment, but even when thinking about this matter in an insight state, he couldn't figure out the reason behind it. In the end, he could only adhere to the idea that existence is reasonable. Although he didn't quite understand, training still needed to continue. After all, he really couldn't think of anything that this improvement could harm him. Since he had such a cheat-like skill, not fully utilizing its effect would indeed be a waste of heavenly resources. After planning his next training, Shen Xingyan went upstairs to have dinner with his sister. Then returned to his room, connected his star origin card, and entered the star origin world. As soon as he arrived in the planting space, Shen Xingyan saw the little skeletons leisurely working in the fields, and he unconsciously smiled. The improvement of his talent also led to the improvement of the existing little skeletons' attributes, greatly increasing their work efficiency. Not only in the present, but even the maintenance prompts after using professional skills were now sufficient. Shen Xingyan called Wang Kai over and checked its attributes, finding that they had indeed reached an all-attribute value of 4. He couldn't help but nod slightly. Wang Kai, now a size larger than before, looked up at its master with its little skeleton head. If it had expressions at this moment, it would probably be filled with unparalleled adoration. From an initial all-attribute value of 1 to the current all-attribute value of 4. Having initially developed some sentience, it also knew that all these changes were bestowed by its master. Therefore, its feelings for its master at this moment were unprecedentedly intense. And Shen Xingyan, through the faint conscious connection between him and Wang Kai, vaguely sensed the other party's emotions. He smiled and patted the little straw hat on Wang Kai's head, expressing reassurance. At the same time, he opened his attribute panel and looked at his improved talent skill. Seeing that the talent skill's cooldown time had completed, he immediately clicked to use it without hesitation. As Shen Xingyan's slightly complex incantation sounded, the ground in front of him began to tremble. Not long after, 4 little skeletons, appearing even stronger than Wang Kai, stood before him. Shen Xingyan looked at these 4 large little skeletons, all with an all-attribute value of 4, and nodded slightly. Then he handed all of them over to Wang Kai for management. And Wang Kai, as the secretary and second-in-command, did not feel the slightest unwillingness towards its master's arrangements. In fact, it was very actively engaged in these matters. At this moment, seeing that its master had summoned 4 subordinates for it at once, it, already somewhat happy due to its attribute improvement, immediately became even more excited, shaking its little head as it looked at its master. And Shen Xingyan also noticed Wang Kai's increasingly human-like small actions and burst out laughing, as if seeing his sister learning to speak. Then he glanced at the acre of strawberry that could be harvested tonight and began to calculate the time in his mind. Previously, the planting time for the 5th acre of strawberry was around 9 p.m., and this time I need to harvest it 5 hours after that, which is around 2 a.m. The timing is still quite ample. Chapter 142. After reaching the current harvest time, Shen Xingyan did not linger and returned directly to the real world. After all, it was still early, and he might as well use this time to train more, as long as he left enough 6 hours of sleep to recover his energy. "Brother, you look so tired, and you still want to train. No, go to sleep quickly." As soon as Shen Xingyan arrived at the training room, he saw his sister training. Before he could speak, he was met with a resolute complaint from his sister. Upon hearing this, Shen Xingyan's footsteps paused, and he felt a warmth from being cared for, but a bitter smile appeared on his face. Under the temptation of 6% progress, how could he give in? After all, the rapidly increasing skill progress was beckoning him, so how could he easily give up? "It's fine, I'll train for 2 hours and then go back to sleep. Don't look at me like I'm tired on the surface, I'm actually full of energy," Shen Xingyan gently said to his sister in a coaxing tone. However, the trick that usually worked so well did not seem to have much effect this time. After Shen Xingyan finished coaxing, Shen Xingyan still pouted unhappily, as if insisting on her opinion, her expression looking as if she would cry if he couldn't be persuaded. Shen Xingyan, who was about to start training, saw his sister's stance and couldn't help but rub his forehead. Thinking, "It seems my sister has really grown up and is not easily fooled anymore. Forget it, it's only 2 hours, just consider it extra rest." Finally, unable to resist his sister, Shen Xingyan could only helplessly go to Star Origin World under her watchful gaze to begin his origin energy cultivation and rest. Under the peaceful atmosphere of the planting space and the influence of the Tranquility Skill's meditative state, Shen Xingyan almost instantly fell into a deep sleep. In this state, Shen Xingyan's various physical metrics were gradually recovering, including not only his severely depleted energy, but also his increasingly profound potential. Under the unprecedented 10x training speed bonus, coupled with the increased farmland area in the planting space and the improved crop levels, the faint green particles that should not have appeared originally which were previously sparse, began to increase in number. After being absorbed into Shen Xingyan's body, they slowly acted upon his wildly developing real-world body through the connection of his own consciousness. Because the faint green particles themselves represent the power of life and are an extreme transformation of primordial energy, they not only replenished Shen Xingyan's physical consumption, but also gradually increased his potential. However, potential is still only potential. Without guidance and development, it cannot be outwardly manifested. Yet the mysterious equilibrium force, deduced by the transparent figure, served to externalize this invisible quality. Shen Xingyan, as the owner of the power of balance, did not even know that the true power of equilibrium force lay not in its basic or transferable active skills, but in the word equilibrium itself. Equilibrium, as the name suggests, means average and balance. Its average and balanced objects are not only the four major attributes, but also various physical metrics and non-physical data. The types included are numerous, so much so that even the creator of this skill did not know them all. For example, various attributes displayed in the attribute panel, as well as hidden attributes, and the body's undeveloped potential and some things in the ethereal realm, etc. All fall within the scope of what equilibrium force balances. The proportion of each factor in this is not entirely the same. However, its ingenious effect is that a slight improvement, after being enhanced by equilibrium force, will be manifested exponentially, which is why the strange phenomenon of equilibrium force not weakening has occurred. And this is also an important reason why Shen Xingyan's equilibrium force training speed can become faster and faster. It is foreseeable that with the increase in crop levels and quantity, under 10x training speed, the quantity and quality of the small particles that can be mobilized will also increase, and Shen Xingyan's potential will also be gradually improved. And under the activation of equilibrium force, Shen Xingyan estimates he will continue to experience this unexplained improvement for a long time. But at this moment, how could Shen Xingyan, who was in a deep sleep, know that the faint green particles in star origin world actually represented the power of life and could directly affect the real world? Nor would he know that such a great many unknown factors were hidden beneath that cheat-like increase in speed. 2 o'clock in the morning slowly arrived, and Shen Xingyan woke up from his meditative state. He hadn't rested for so long in several days, and at this moment, he felt incredibly energetic, as if all the energy he had previously lacked had been replenished. With this energy, I can train for 20 hours, Shen Xingyan thought with some excitement. Shen Xingyan gently patted Wang Kai, who was sleeping next to him, imitating him, and chuckled softly. "Wake up, Wang Kai, time to work." Then he flipped over and stood up, turning his head to look at Wang Kai, the meaning of which was self-evident. Wang Kai also understood his master's meaning and clumsily tried to imitate his master's previous action, but after several attempts, he did not succeed. He even started to show a blood loss prompt on his head due to this self-harming star origin, which made Shen Xingyan, who was initially finding it amusing, immediately flash over and help Wang Kai up. His capable subordinate could not have any mishaps. All right, don't force it. Although your attributes have increased now, the innate coordination of a skeleton cannot be compensated for in a short time. When I have time, I'll teach you some techniques. For now, go arrange the other little skeletons. I'm about to use a skill. Shen Xingyan gently comforted the slightly dejected Wang Kai. Then he couldn't help but shake his head and smile, truly feeling like he was coaxing his sister. Then he looked at the farmland in front of him, waved the staff in his hand, and with a thought, cast the clone technique. He sent the clone to wait in the farmland, while he slowly walked into the strawberry farmland that was about to mature, drank the potion, and waited for his primordial energy to fully recover. I hope this mysterious luck attribute can work its magic again and give me another talent stone. While waiting, Shen Xingyan began to silently pray in his heart. As the saying goes, what you constantly think about will eventually come to fruition, especially since he had the luck attribute bonus. Although the first point was a bit too metaphysical, Shen Xingyan still chose to believe it. Chapter 143. A few minutes later, Shen Xingyan's primordial energy had fully recovered. He unhesitatingly waved the staff in his hand, while silently reciting the incantation to activate his skill. Instantly, the primordial energy within him began to surge wildly through his body, converging at his staff in just 2 seconds. At the same time, the hindering prompt from Star Origin World appeared synchronously. Ding tilde detection shows you are casting a skill on some crops that are about to mature. There is a possibility of failure for this skill on these crops. Do you wish to continue? Continue. Shen Xingyan, who was already very familiar with this, simply murmured his choice and directly selected to continue. And in response to Shen Xingyan's decisive choice, Star Origin World reacted swiftly. The warning prompt vanished instantly, and all the primordial energy on the staff began to detach, instantly covering all the farmlands. Standing in the farmland and quietly observing this change, Shen Xingyan appeared calm and composed on the surface, but his heart was still slightly flustered. Every time he went through this, it was like combat professionist killing monsters for drops. He was filled with a sense of the unknown regarding what was about to happen. The only difference between him and other probability-based professionals was that, due to his luck bonus, his chances of success were much higher. But even so, it still made his heartstrings tighten involuntarily. With Shen Xingyan holding his breath, concentrating, and with a slightly anxious gaze, Star Origin World directly announced the final answer. Congratulations, you have successfully cast your skill. Farmer experience points +1. Upon hearing this prompt, Shen Xingyan finally let out a long sigh of relief, silently thanking the goddess of luck for her favor. Once the skill's effect was fully realized, a mature, harvestable icon appeared above the strawberry farmland under his feet. Naturally, Shen Xingyan did not hesitate. He immediately began harvesting without delay. As for the frantic maintenance prompts from the other farmlands, he had no worries whatsoever. After all, he now had plenty of confidence and was no longer struggling to cope as he was at the beginning. Now, not to mention that he has a clone assisting him from the side, even if he only relied on the 50 little skeletons. Each with 4 points in all attributes, he could still easily handle the rapidly incoming maintenance prompts from 8 farmlands. Not to mention that, under Wang Kai's overall coordination and Lei Fu and Lakian's precise execution, the little skeletons would even use their berserk skill when necessary to resolve the crisis at hand. All these factors served as safety barriers, allowing Shen Xingyan to harvest strawberries with peace of mind. At this moment, Shen Xingyan had no other concerns, only wishing to quickly harvest the strawberries and see the results. Under the bonus of Gale Step, he moved like a small whirlwind, darting back and forth across this farmland. In this extreme speed state, his harvesting efficiency reached an unprecedented level. In just a few short minutes, all the strawberry plants in this farmland vanished completely, all entering Shen Xingyan's backpack space. Shen Xingyan, satisfied with his harvesting efficiency this time, stood up with a smile, while the Star Origin harvest prompt echoed in his ears. Congratulations. You have planted 600 square meters of strawberries this time, with a harvest yield of 1,040 kilograms, gaining 6240 farmer experience points. Seeing this number, Shen Xingyan appeared very calm and collected. After all, he had naturally anticipated that this harvest's yield would exceed the previous one, so there wasn't much surprise. However, when he subconsciously converted it into 1 gold coin and several hundred silver coins, a faint smile appeared on his face. He thought to himself, there's progress every day and I can earn 1 gold coin every day. Such a life is truly wonderful. At this moment, he made no moves, waiting as usual for the final reward of this time. Only when the moment arrived did his excited emotions begin to be stimulated, hoping that the upcoming prompt would include the words Talent Stone. And Star Origin World was very cooperative, not making him wait long. Just as his emotions were surging, the prompt appeared directly before his eyes. Congratulations. You have once again broken your previous record of 1,000 kilograms per mu of strawberry yield, successfully achieving a result of 1,040 kilograms. You are specially rewarded with permanent land privilege. Ordinary land purchased or rewarded will automatically transform into black soil. Xingyuan will make a full zone announcement. Do you wish to make the information public? Seeing that this reward was not the talent stone he had imagined, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. However, he quickly put away this emotion. After all, not everything can go as one wishes. Being able to successfully cast a skill was already a stroke of luck. One shouldn't demand too much, otherwise even the sweetest life could taste like bitter coffee. Immediately, he curiously checked the introduction about black soil. Previously, in the information from the real world, there was not much mention of black soil, so when he suddenly saw this reward, he subconsciously felt that it was an ordinary reward, definitely not as valuable as a talent stone. But after checking the black soil introduction, he had to admit that he was too young and too presumptuous. Black soil. Crops planted on it will have their final harvested product quality increased by 1 major rank normal right arrow quality, right arrow outstanding, right arrow perfect, right arrow. Looking at such a simple introduction of black soil in the prompt, Shen Xingyan was instantly rendered speechless. Crop quality increased by 1 major rank? Is it that abnormal? Does that mean that if I could originally only grow outstanding quality strawberries, can they now be directly upgraded to perfect quality? Then, in the future, after I grow perfect quality crops, can they also directly break through to a quality height not recorded in reality? Moreover, every time a crop increases in quality, its value increases significantly, and correspondingly, the further the increase, the more difficult it becomes. It is estimated that, when I plant level 4 crops, it may not even be possible to reach the perfect level. But now, with such a privilege, I can directly harvest perfect quality strawberries, whose value is several times that of outstanding quality strawberries. The speed of accumulating money can be doubled. What's even more terrifying is that when I plant spirit rank seeds in the future, if the final harvest increases by 1 rank, the amount of gold coins obtained would be unimaginable. Suddenly enlightened, Shen Xingyan's eyes instantly became incredibly fervent. Looking at the black soil privilege, he seemed to see countless small fortunes waving madly at him. Chapter 144. The introduction to the black soil just now said it could help improve the quality of my crops by a large margin. According to this statement, for a crop to go from outstanding quality to perfect quality, it needs to cross 2 qualities in between: outstanding plus and perfect. This means 1 large quality step equals 3 small quality steps. So, does this mean if my crops are of outstanding plus or outstanding quality, after being enhanced by the black soil, they can all be upgraded to the corresponding perfect plus or perfect quality? Or can they only reach perfect quality? This idea will probably have to wait until I grow crops of outstanding plus quality to be verified. After accepting the reward for breaking the record, Shen Xingyan slowly regained his usual composure, and his mind couldn't help but begin to analyze this land privilege. If this is truly the case, although the span of quality is the same, the final effect will be vastly different. The higher the quality of the crops I grow, the greater the corresponding improvement from the black soil. After all, the value of going from superior to outstanding is completely different from going from outstanding to perfect. Shen Xingyan was very aware that quality improvement becomes more difficult the further you go. Therefore, peasant professional who can only grow crops of common or superior quality, even if they receive such an enhancement reward, the final value increase will not be much. The low quality of their crops prevents them from fully utilizing the black soil's enhancement. However, Shen Xingyan is just the opposite. Under the effect of his 2 major skills, long-term crops can be grown with 0 penalty throughout the entire process until harvest is complete. Their yield and quality can be said to have reached the limit under normal conditions. And after the quality enhancement from the black soil, His improvement margin is naturally the largest at this stage. It seems one must be strong oneself. Even with such a good reward, one must have the strength to accept it. Shen Xingyan sighed, feeling a wave of gratitude. Although he thought this, the smile on his face showed no sign of fading. It's worth noting that some people in reality, after awakening a talent that grants crop quality +1, feel a significant sense of superiority over other peasant professional and are more likely to be valued for focused cultivation. And now he has this land privilege. If his guess is correct, the final result is a +3 increase in crop quality, which would completely obliterate the owners of that talent skill. Of course, this is assuming they haven't used 3 talent stones like Shen Xingyan. After a moment of emotion, Shen Xingyan quickly paid the 100 silver coins to cancel the announcement. The Star Origins notification disappeared, and the land privilege reward began to take effect on all current farmlands. In just a few seconds, the large expanse of soil that was originally ordinary earthy yellow became several shades darker. Not much different from the skin color of the black people in the know. 9 bases data, although it hadn't reached pure black, that level wasn't too far off. Is this the black soil? Shen Xingyan curiously squatted down, gently pinched a handful of the soil beneath his feet, and looked up at the current transformation, exclaiming in wonder. With the enhancement of this land, tomorrow's harvest will let me witness what perfect quality strawberries are like, and how many silver coins they can earn me. This black soil is truly adorable. At this moment, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but want to embrace this lovely soil, but he still restrained his impulse. Then, with a thought, he summoned his doppelganger, and together they quickly tilled this farmland, planting the strawberry seeds he had previously purchased. To this extent, his work for the day was more than half complete. And what he had to do next was something all professional peasant professional greatly yearned for: raising his professional level. Bringing up his attribute panel, his gaze rested on the experience point column. The more than 6,000 experience points he gained from this harvest, plus his original experience, totaled over 10,000, which was enough for him to raise his professional level by another rank. I'm really leveling up once a day now. Why does leveling up feel a bit too easy? If I had enough money now, I could extract the attributes gained after leveling up each day into the real world. 14 attribute points every day, that would be truly wonderful. Looking at the icon in the experience column that indicated he could level up again, Shen Xingyan shook his head and thought with some emotion. If other peasant professional knew about this, they would probably cry themselves into self-isolation. You know, they felt very hopeful just by gaining 1 or 2 levels after months of hard work. But for Shen Xingyan, leveling up seemed to be a natural progression, incredibly easy and comfortable. Compared like this, how could that feeling of being driven to madness by others not make them feel a deep sense of powerlessness? And Shen Xingyan naturally knew that his thoughts were a bit too fanciful, at least at this stage, so he quickly reined in such somewhat exasperating ideas. With a thought, he directly conveyed his desire to raise his level. Congratulations, your professional level has been raised to level 17. You are rewarded with all attributes +2, free attribute points +4, professional skill cooldown -2%. We hope you will continue to strive and improve. As this Star Origin notification appeared, a familiar sense of comfort once again spread through Shen Xingyan's body. Although the body formed by conscious projection wasn't as strong in sensory perception, the sheer amount of improvement made up for it. All 4 main attributes and other associated attributes increased by 2 points, and this direct improvement was quite noticeable in terms of sensation. And this feeling was indeed somewhat addictive, making Shen Xingyan want to remain immersed in it. As the comfortable sensation slowly faded, Shen Xingyan, still feeling a bit unsatisfied, casually added the 4 rewarded free attribute points to his primordial energy attribute, bringing it to 64 points. He then looked at the various values that had once again increased, nodding with satisfaction. I've reached professional level 17 so quickly. If I level up 3 more times, I'll reach level 20, and then I can unlock the ranch function. I can also activate my second professional skill, but I wonder what kind of skill I'll get. Shen Xingyan looked up at the sky, gently envisioning the future. Chapter 145. After a moment of distraction, Shen Xingyan reined in his thoughts. When he came back to his senses, he began the last task of the day. Selling all the agricultural products, every time it came to this, he would unconsciously feel happy. And there was nothing he could do about it. After all, for more than 10 years, he and his sister had suffered too much because of money. Therefore, he was very serious about money matters. And now, the feeling of having more than 1 gold coin in his account every day was indeed wonderful. Watching his wallet slowly bulge, Shen Xingyan felt a heartfelt joy. After opening his backpack space and decomposing the strawberry plants within, he checked the attributes of the strawberries and strawberry leaves, finding them still to be of outstanding grade. After a slight nod, he said, "Tomorrow, what I face won't be the words outstanding anymore. It will be perfect." With an unconscious smile on his face, Shen Xingyan opened the Star Origin Mall and sold all of these 2 harvests. The sale of the 2 agricultural products earned him a total of 1 gold, 263 silver, and 500 copper, setting a new micro-record. With the money in his account, Shen Xingyan's total assets also reached a little over 7 gold coins, equivalent to 700,000 before the primordial energy burst. I'm only 3 gold coins short of being able to extract an attribute point into the real world. I wonder if tomorrow's harvest will allow me to achieve my small goal of 10 gold coins, Shen Xingyan thought with longing. Although the extraction of 1 primordial energy point currently doesn't have a significant effect on him, but everything is difficult at the beginning. He believed that once he extracted attributes from the Star Origin world for the first time, subsequent extractions would become increasingly simple, and their frequency would also accelerate. After finishing the last task of the day, Shen Xingyan lightly clapped his hands, intending to help Wang Kai and the others labor for a while before returning to the real world. However, what he thought would be relatively easy labor turned out to be quite strenuous. After only a few minutes of working, he clearly felt that this wave of prompts was more demanding than before. This made him wonder. Logically, with 50 little skeletons, each with 4 points in all attributes, plus his own presence and that of his clone, it should have been easier to handle. But why did it feel more difficult than a few days ago? After noticing this situation, Shen Xingyan subconsciously stopped working. Through his clone and his own eyes, he simultaneously examined the farmland, wanting to know the reason. After several minutes of observation and comparing it with his impressions, he somewhat understood the reason. The frequency of these prompts far exceeded the same period previously. So it wasn't that their efficiency was low, rather, the prompts had intensified. This discovery couldn't help but make him a little puzzled. After looking around, he turned his gaze to the soil that had turned black, and suddenly, as if enlightened, he lightly patted his forehead, simultaneously understanding the cause of this change. The black soil changed. I was so busy being happy about the quality improvement that I didn't think about the principle that every gain comes with a loss. To improve the quality of agricultural products, the price paid is not just a piece of black soil, but also these increased Star Origin maintenance prompts. It's fortunate that my little skeletons now have a certain scale, and their attributes aren't too bad, so dealing with these prompts isn't too strenuous. Shen Xingyan sighed slightly, knowing that everything was interconnected and influenced each other. He then put away his somewhat leisurely mindset and fully focused on handling the Star Origin maintenance prompts. Under this sudden increase, it was fortunate that Shen Xingyan and his clone were assisting, with Wang Kai and the others providing the main output, which prevented any unexpected situations. After working like this for over an hour, the Star Origin maintenance prompts slowly returned to normal. Looking at the maintenance prompts before him, Shen Xingyan silently calculated their frequency. Finally, through calculation and clear perception, he knew that the frequency of the maintenance prompts was indeed faster than before. It's a good thing I have an ever-increasing number of little skeletons, whose quantity and quality have improved under the effect of the talent stone. Plus, with Wang Kai's presence, ensuring the efficiency of the labor, I can maintain the existing advantage. Otherwise, with the unupgraded talent skill from before, I would at most have 20-odd little skeletons, each with 1 point in all attributes. In that situation, the daily maintenance work of the farmland would probably not be manageable. Shen Xingyan murmured softly as he looked at the current situation. At the same time, his desire to obtain more talent stones grew stronger, as talent skills were the foundation he relied on. Take it slow, no need to rush. As long as I stabilize now, everything else is just a matter of time, Shen Xingyan thought with a sudden realization. He then opened the Star Origin Mall and bought some body-strengthening potions for his sister and himself. After all, he was now wealthy, and his previous idea of giving his sister physique potions to drink like water had taken a significant step forward. After extracting the potions into the real world, Shen Xingyan dismissed his clone, then greeted Wang Kai and returned to the real world. At this time, it was evening in the real world. Although he was in the inner ring of the northern district, there was no one outside at this hour. Having not left home for several days, he originally wanted to use his teleportation skill to go for a stroll, but this thought was thwarted by the silent night. After suppressing this impulse, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but admonish himself internally. Just endure a little longer. Stability is the most important thing. Besides, I'll be going to the extraterritorial world in 2 days, so I should use all my time to improve myself. Shen Xingyan, who was vigorously encouraging himself in his mind, directly teleported to the training room and began his daily workout. Due to sufficient rest in the Star Origin world, he had an exceptional burst of energy for this workout. He thought that he wouldn't appear as tired as before, making it easy for his sister to notice. Many other awakeners in their generation shared Shen Xingyan's thoughts. After receiving prompts from the school, they became even more frantic in killing monsters in the Star Origin world to raise their professional levels, and then began extracting the rewarded attribute points into the real world. Children are the focus of a family, and this holds true in any era. Therefore, almost all families spared no effort in fulfilling their children's desire to extract attribute points into the real world. And this also led to a drastic improvement in the overall strength of the awakeners in their generation. Chapter 146. Shen Xingyan, who had been independent since childhood, naturally couldn't feel the full support that other professionals received. He could only rely on himself, and he was also his sister's reliance. Time flew by, and it was almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Shen Xingyan emerged from his intense, balanced force training. He opened his attribute panel to check the progress of his balanced force and let out a satisfied breath, slowly calming his mind after the strenuous exercise. Ever since he returned from Star Origin World around 3 in the morning, he had thrown himself into this training. He only took a quick breakfast with his sister, otherwise, he didn't waste a single moment, dedicating all his time to training. And the final result was gratifying. After 11 hours of training, his balanced force had increased by 33%. Including the original 18% progress, he had pushed his balanced force, which had just leveled up yesterday, to 51%. He had already completed half of the skill progress required for level 4. Such an improvement is truly exhilarating. Based on the most basic increase, this is equivalent to gaining 2 attribute points. Moreover, I haven't even used my comprehension skill yet. Once I use it, I conservatively estimate another 20% increase. After that, I might even be able to complete the remaining progress today. Seeing the satisfying progress, Shen Xingyan felt a surge of exhilaration. In his opinion, nothing was more invigorating than such tangible improvement. After a brief energy replenishment and adjustment of his state, Shen Xingyan entered his insight period for the day. As the comprehension skill activated, the clarity brought by the increased insight made Shen Xingyan's perspective feel as if it had ascended several levels. He gained more ideas when looking at things, and at the balanced force being practiced by the transparent figure in his mind. However, despite many ideas, the progress was still far behind what the transparent figure was achieving. Shen Xingyan, in response, pursued it vigorously, dedicating all his attention. Yet, he felt the ultimate effect was negligible. While effort was undoubtedly important, the gap in insight was something that could not be bridged immediately. However, his mood improved significantly when he considered that his primordial energy limit would increase in the future, and his insight would follow suit. The 1-hour insight period concluded amidst Shen Xingyan's frantic pursuit. As the comprehension skill ended, the distinct feeling of his insight dropping made Shen Xingyan instantly aware. He then slowly ceased his movements, his mind repeatedly replaying the insight he had just experienced. At the same time, he took out his star origin card and brought up the attribute panel. He felt very satisfied upon seeing that the skill progress of balanced force had reached 72%. It seems my efforts just now did have an effect after all. Even if it's just a small 1% increase, it's still a reward for myself. Seeing that it had increased by 21% this time, a relieved smile involuntarily appeared on Shen Xingyan's face. After internalizing the actions from his insight, he trained for another 2 hours, bringing the progress of balanced force to a successful 79%. This was equivalent to a 3.5% progress increase per hour. This prompt also re-verified the idea that training increased by 0.5% per hour after using the comprehension skill. Shen Xingyan, who had become somewhat accustomed to being surprised by such improvements, felt a slight ripple in his heart before quickly accepting the reality. Although he didn't know the reason, he understood that any improvement was a good thing. With the remaining 21% progress, I can upgrade equilibrium force to level 4. After summoning the little skeleton later, I must come back immediately to train and strive to complete this progress. The increasing progress per hour filled Shen Xingyan with confidence about leveling up equilibrium force today. At this time, seeing that his sister was about to finish school, he stopped training and went downstairs to prepare dinner. Since he had ample rest in Star Origin World this time, his energy was now much better than before. As a result, Shen Xingyan didn't notice much abnormality upon returning home, and she expressed her praise and commendation for her brother being so amenable to advice. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but chuckle softly at his sister's mature demeanor. The siblings enjoyed their dinner in this happy mood. Afterward, Shen Xingyan returned to his room and entered Star Origin World to activate his innate skill. Looking at the 54 little skeletons before him, an average of 6 little skeletons were working on each acre of farmland, and all of them had 4 points in every attribute. Even on black soil, it's already sufficient, Shen Xingyan muttered to himself. After checking the 6th acre of strawberry farmland, Shen Xingyan calculated its ripening time and the time he wanted to break the record. Finding that around 8 a.m. tomorrow would be most suitable, he then didn't linger in the planting space and returned directly to the real world, as there were still 21 points of progress awaiting his completion. Back in the real world, in the underground training room, Shen Xingyan trained with his sister. This time, Shen Xingyan's condition was clearly much better than yesterday, so his sister didn't stop him from training much, only gently reminding him to train in moderation. Shen Xingyan naturally indulged his sister, the little housekeeper, agreeing repeatedly with his words. Anyway, once his sister went to school, she wouldn't see his training. When it was past 10 p.m., Shen Xingyan directly told his sister to go to bed, while he continued to train. As for her brother, who believed in one rule for him and another for others, Shen Xingyan could only pout and unwillingly return. Originally, she also wanted to persuade her brother to go back and rest, but seeing his determined eyes, she remembered that he would be going to the extraterritorial world in 2 days. Thinking that her brother must be holding his breath right now, given the circumstances, she found it difficult to offer any advice at this time and could only obediently go upstairs to sleep. Seeing his sister finally obediently go up to rest, Shen Xingyan looked at the progress, which was less than 10 points short, and couldn't help but secretly steel himself. Including the 3 hours of training just now, Shen Xingyan had trained for 17 hours today. The intensity was unprecedented for him. If it weren't for the improvement in his physical fitness and ample rest in Star Origin world, he would probably be too exhausted to even lift his head right now. Forcing himself to stay awake, Shen Xingyan persisted in training until 1 a.m. Just as he was about to give up, he felt an unusual sense of comfort spread throughout his body, which replenished his energy to a certain extent. He was not unfamiliar with this feeling, knowing that his balanced force had leveled up. Chapter 147, Equilibrium Force Level 4. Passive, all 4 fixed attributes plus 4. Active, consumes 8 points of primordial energy to activate Equilibrium Force, temporarily transferring 8 attribute points to a designated attribute for 2 minutes. Cooldown 10 minutes. Current progress 0%, strength, 18 points agility, 18 points constitution, 19 points spirit, 14 points. Shen Xingyan took out his Star Origin card and opened the attribute panel. Seeing that his attributes in the real world had indeed improved overall, and Equilibrium Force had reached level 4, a hint of joy appeared on his face. In just one day, he had raised Equilibrium Force by another level. This would have been an impossible feat for him before, but now it had actually been achieved. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but exclaim, "Today's goal is finally complete. It's incredible to be able to increase 4 attribute points in one day." 4 attribute points were equivalent to 40 gold coins, dozens of times more valuable than the strawberries he was currently growing. Satisfied with this, Shen Xingyan began to relax as his leveling goal was achieved. At this moment, his suppressed fatigue began to fight back, and a drowsy feeling filled his brain, making his eyelids heavy. Shen Xingyan noticed the depletion of his energy. He quickly teleported back to his room, directly connected his consciousness to his Star Origin card, and entered the Star Origin world. At this moment, within Shen Xingyan's planting space, as soon as he appeared, he saw Wang Kai and the others fighting invading little rabbits. Rather than a battle, it was more of a one-sided crushing. When Wang Kai and the others had all attributes at 3, they could already handle the invasion of these little monsters, though it took a little time. Now that all their attributes had improved, their efficiency in eliminating them was naturally even higher. Shen Xingyan watched for a while and did not step in to assist them. After all, the final outcome of this battle was without suspense, so he really didn't need to get involved, especially since his energy was quite limited at the moment. With a thought, Shen Xingyan teleported to his usual spot, lay down, set a 6-hour origin energy cultivation time, and immediately entered a meditative state, almost simultaneously falling into a deep sleep. He was so exhausted that he even unconsciously let out slight snores, which combined with the sounds of Wang Kai and the others fighting, formed a strange symphony. This created a very peculiar scene. On one side, the little skeletons were frantically killing invading little rabbits, defending the farmland from disturbance. But on the other side, the actual owner of the planting space, who should have been the most anxious, was sound asleep, lending a strange sense of absurdity to the entire scene. As the instigator, Shen Xingyan had no such awareness at this time and was sleeping very soundly. A few minutes later, under Wang Kai's overall command, the little skeletons successfully dealt with all the little monsters. If Shen Xingyan were to compare them before and after, he would find that the little skeletons now seemed a tiny bit more agile overall. Upon sensing their master's presence, Wang Kai and the others merely glanced in the direction he was sleeping and did not go over to disturb his rest. Instead, they continued to labor in the farmland. Among them, only Wang Kai gently walked over to Shen Xingyan, slowly sat down, and accompanied his master. Time slowly passed in this quiet atmosphere. 6 hours later, Shen Xingyan's origin energy cultivation time ended, and he awoke from his sleep. With his energy restored, his eyes no longer held the previous tired look, but were filled with a vibrant sparkle, and his mind also felt clear. Although 6 hours of sleep was not as sufficient as his previous 8 hours, it was enough for Shen Xingyan, whose recovery ability had increased with his improved spirit attribute. Seeing that there was less than an hour until the planned harvest time, Shen Xingyan did not wait idly. Instead, he chose to return directly to the real world, had breakfast with his sister, replenished his stamina, and then returned to the Star Origin world. While waiting for the harvest time, he idly opened his attribute panel and admired his Star Origin world attributes. Strength: 41 points agility, 41 points constitution, 42 points spirit, 37 points. As the level of equilibrium force in the real world increased, Shen Xingyan's Star Origin world attributes also improved synchronously, with the average now exceeding 40 points. If I could extract these attribute points to the real world, I could be considered a beginner combatant. It's a pity, I don't have money, so I can only sigh in despair. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but sigh with emotion as he looked at these impressive attributes. At the same time, he naturally turned his gaze to the acre of strawberries that were about to be harvested, and specifically checked the black soil, which in his eyes was filled with the scent of money. The black soil, which can increase the quality of crops by +1, I wonder how much little money it will bring me this time. Amidst Shen Xingyan's anticipation, the harvest time slowly approached. Seeing that the time was almost right, Shen Xingyan first summoned his clone to help deal with the upcoming Star Origin prompts. After waiting a few more minutes, seeing that the time and primordial energy were almost ready, he unhesitatingly cast his professional skill. The novice staff appeared, and his body's primordial energy began to surge wildly. As the anticipated spellcasting was interrupted, the familiar prompt sound rang out again. Ding tilde, it has been detected that you are casting a professional skill on some crops that are about to mature. There is a possibility that this skill might fail for these crops. Do you wish to continue? Upon seeing this prompt, Shen Xingyan subconsciously felt a little unsure. This was mainly because there had been multiple successful skill castings before, which invisibly magnified the probability of this skill failing, making him less confident about this outcome than last time. Therefore, for this seemingly low success rate, Shen Xingyan prayed a little longer in his heart, hoping that the luck attribute would continue to play its magical role. After muttering for more than 10 seconds, he confirmed to continue casting the professional skill. As he confirmed, the primordial energy, transformed by the professional skill, began to affect all the farmland. Shen Xingyan looked anxiously at his 6th acre of strawberry farmland and began to subtly observe the changes in the strawberries. Chapter 148. Under Shen Xingyan's gaze, the 6th strawberry farmland also began to show faint signs, which caused his pupils to slightly widen. At the same time, the Xingyuan skill prompt sounded, "Congratulations, you have successfully used a professional skill. Farmer experience +1. The changes in the strawberries he saw before his eyes and the prompt he heard in his ears all conveyed the news that this professional skill had been successfully used. Only then did Shen Xingyan relax, and the corners of his mouth curved upwards. I was just scaring myself. I should have believed in the mystery and power of luck long ago. With its blessing, the success rate of skill use will not be low. After seeing this result, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but start analyzing it with hindsight. The successful use of professional skills means that today is another day to break records. I wonder what kind of reward Star Origin World will give me this time. At this moment, Shen Xingyan was like a gambler who knew he would win, but didn't know how much money he would win, filled with curiosity and excitement. In this feeling, time passed very slowly for more than 10 seconds. And then the Xingyuan maintenance prompt and the strawberry ripeness and harvestable prompt appeared simultaneously above the farmland. Seeing the prompts appear, Shen Xingyan just exchanged a glance with Wang Kai, and Wang Kai immediately understood, directly commanding more than 50 little skeletons to deal with the maintenance prompt. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan nodded in satisfaction. After instructing his clone to assist Wang Kai and the others, he also began his own work, harvesting strawberries. Having had 5 experiences harvesting strawberries, Shen Xingyan was quite adept at it, and his sweeping was extremely fast. The leveling up of his professional level and the balanced force both improved his attributes, which made his strawberry harvest efficiency far exceed previous times. In the strawberry farmland, with the gale step blessing him, he was like a small whirlwind, leaving no strawberry behind wherever he went. Within a few minutes, the last strawberry plant was put into his backpack space. Then the Star Origin World Harvest prompt also appeared. Congratulations, you have planted 600 square meters of strawberries this time, with a harvest yield of 1,075 kilograms, and gained 6,450 farmer experience points. As expected, he once again broke the Star Origin world record, exceeding the previous 1,040 kilograms by another 35 kilograms. Although this was a joyous occasion, Shen Xingyan silently calculated after seeing the experience gained this time, and couldn't help but shake his head slightly in regret. What a pity. The 6,450 experience points gained this time, plus the remaining 2,356 points from the previous upgrade, only add up to 8,806 points. It's still nearly 200 points short of the 9,000 experience points required for an upgrade. My idea of upgrading one level every day has also been interrupted. Several consecutive days of professional level increases had made Shen Xingyan somewhat accustomed to it. Now, with such a sudden inability to upgrade, it indeed made him feel uncomfortable for a while. Alas, I can only wait until tomorrow to upgrade. It seems that the path to upgrading will become increasingly difficult in the future, right? Shen Xingyan thought with a slight hint of melancholy. However, if other professional players knew about Shen Xingyan's thoughts, they would definitely go crazy and beat him up to vent their anger. Being able to increase a level in just 2 days is a situation that only occurs when one first awakens. And Shen Xingyan is already almost level 20, yet he can still have such speed. How enviable is that? But now this guy still feels that such an upgrade speed is a bit slow, which really makes people angry without getting paid. However, Shen Xingyan did not have this realization at this time, mainly because the previous upgrade speed was too fast. And now it suddenly slowed down, making him feel that it was indeed a bit slow. Although Shen Xingyan had a slight regret, he had also anticipated this. After all, it's not possible to really upgrade one level every day. That would be too terrifying. So he quickly adjusted his emotions. After checking the Xingyuan harvest prompt, Shen Xingyan didn't idle while waiting for the Xingyuan record-breaking prompt. He quickly opened his backpack space, separated the strawberry plants, and checked the attributes of the 2 agricultural products item. Strawberry perfect value, 4,200 copper coins quantity, 1,075 attribute, a nutritious and good-tasting fruit. Item, strawberry leaf perfect value, 35 copper coins quantity, 500 attribute, an ingredient for beverages. When Shen Xingyan saw that the strawberries harvested this time were actually of perfect grade, his mouth immediately widened into a grin, his smile completely unconcealable. In front of such a harvest, his previous slight regret immediately disappeared without a trace. The strawberries I harvested before were always of outstanding quality, and now, just on the second day of getting the black soil, I actually harvested perfect quality strawberries. The effect of the black soil is truly terrifying. From outstanding quality to perfect quality, it's equivalent to an increase of 3 minor grades. And as everyone knows, the higher the grade of agricultural products, the greater their value. Under such a quality improvement, the value of strawberries has also increased dramatically. Now, each kilogram is worth 4,200 copper coins. This is more than 3 times the value of outstanding quality. If I sell them, my wallet will instantly swell to more than 11 gold coins, and I can directly extract 1 primordial energy into the real world. The perfect quality strawberries immediately excited Shen Xingyan. From harvesting more than 1 gold coin per acre of strawberries before, to now being able to harvest more than 4. The huge increase in value made images of money appear in Shen Xingyan's eyes. And while Shen Xingyan was immersed in this emotion, the main event of this time began to appear in his ears. Congratulations! You have once again broken the record you created of 1,040 kilograms of strawberry yield per acre, successfully reaching a score of 1,075 kilograms. You are specially rewarded with 1 acre of mutated seeds, and your cultivated land area is increased by 600 square meters. Xingyuan will make a full area announcement. Would you like to make the information public? The Xingyuan prompt pulled Shen Xingyan out of his money-filled world. Seeing the breakthrough prompt before him, he couldn't help but frown slightly. Why is the breakthrough reward this time only 1 acre of farmland and 1 acre of seeds? Although the description says the seeds are mutated, this is completely incomparable to the previous talent stone and black soil. Did I exploit too much, and Star Origin World started to weaken the rewards? If so, that would be a shocking bad news. Chapter 149. Shen Xingyan felt a wave of frustration after seeing this reward. After all, no matter how powerful a mutated seed was, it would be gone after planting. There were no long-term benefits like talent stones or black soil, nor skill extraction vouchers that could strengthen his real-world self. However, since it was already a fact, he had no choice but to accept it. Looking at the announcement prompt before him, although Shen Xingyan knew there was no need to hide such a reward, he still chose to pay 100 silver coins to cancel the world announcement. Although the reward is small, that 1 mu of farmland is worth 300 gold coins. If this were announced and the whole world knew about it, it might remind them of the previous talent stones. Forget it, consider it spending money to avert disaster. Besides, 100 silver coins is really nothing to me now. Thinking about it, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but straighten his back, putting on an air of wealth. After Shen Xingyan completed the payment, that 1 mu of seeds flashed like a streak of light and appeared in his backpack space. At the same time, the rewarded 1 mu of cultivated land also began to activate. The land beneath Shen Xingyan's feet began to tremble slightly and slowly expand outwards. The other farmlands also began to integrate and differentiate. After a tremor akin to a crustal movement, this new farmland appeared next to Shen Xingyan. The arrival of the new farmland also cultivated the mu of farmland under Shen Xingyan's feet, bringing it into a plantable state. Looking at the expanded farmland, Shen Xingyan opened his backpack space, wanting to verify if his wool-shearing plan still had practical value. In the last slot of the backpack space, the 1 mu of seeds from this reward lay quietly. Unlike the seeds he had encountered before, this seed was no longer in a bag-wrapped form. It was simply a small, single seed. Just 1 seed. Why did the prompt just now say it was 1 mu? Seeing this phenomenon, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but feel confused, subconsciously thinking he was mistaken or that there was an error in the backpack display. A bit surprised, he moved his mind and took the seed into his hand, confirming it was indeed a single seed. This is a bit strange. Can 1 seed plant 1 mu of land? Are you kidding me? Seeing such a strange phenomenon, Shen Xingyan's original verifying mindset immediately brightened considerably. And he began to become curious and expectant, thinking, a single seed won't have anything special about it, will it? As he thought this, his consciousness also fell upon it, checking the weakened reward from Star Origin World this time, item. Mutated seed grade, beginner spirit tier growable planting level. No level limit growth period, 100 days planting range, 600 square meters planting conditions. Black soil attribute, a mutated seed that can condense star origin power. Automatically upgrades its grade after its growth period is complete. It's actually a spirit tier seed, and it can even grow. This value is indeed considerable. That means Star Origin World didn't weaken its reward. Upon reaching this conclusion, Shen Xingyan's spirits immediately lifted, and his eyes glowed. A spirit tier seed, and there are no level restrictions for planting, this is a bit magical. I can plant it right now. It's just that the attribute description doesn't clearly state its ultimate value. I wonder what kind of fruit or outcome this seed will have after it's planted. It truly lives up to its item name as a mutated seed. Shen Xingyan, continuing his research, was a bit confused. He couldn't help but shake his head. although based on the information known so far. The use of this seed is unclear and somewhat inferior to the talent stone. It is at least a growing spirit tier seed that can be continuously planted. Perhaps there will be some surprise later. And to think that I, a farmer at only level 10-something, can plant spirit tier crops that only level 50-something big brothers can plant, I'm secretly quite pleased. Collecting his thoughts, Shen Xingyan cheered up again. In any case, the most important point had been verified, from the uniqueness of this seed. He could tell that Star Origin World had no tendency to weaken his rewards. It was just that this reward was a bit hard to understand. Subsequently, Shen Xingyan planted the strawberry seeds and the mutated seeds separately, observing for a while. Seeing that, as spirit tier seeds, the speed at which their prompts appeared was nearly twice as fast as the strawberry seeds. But still within a reasonable range, he felt relieved. Now, all he could do was wait a few days to see what unusual changes this mutated seed would undergo after its growth period was complete. Temporarily setting this thought aside, Shen Xingyan opened his backpack space and sold all the perfect quality strawberries and strawberry leaves to the Star Origin Mall. Earning a total of 4 gold, 532 silver, and 500 copper. His money pouch instantly reached 11 gold and 438 silver. Finally, it's over 10 gold coins. In just over 20 days since I awakened, I've managed to acquire so many gold coins. If others knew about this, they'd probably be shocked. Shen Xingyan thought with a smile, then unhesitatingly opened his attribute panel and looked at the primordial energy section. With a thought, a prompt appeared before his eyes. Ding tilde to extract attributes of this value, 10 gold coins are required. Do you wish to extract? Seeing this prompt, which was similar to when extracting items, but the amount of money it consumed was somewhat painful, Shen Xingyan naturally clicked confirm. As he confirmed, he felt as if a bit of the primordial energy in his body suddenly disappeared, only to be replenished again. Shen Xingyan naturally knew the specific reason for this marvelous sensation, after he extracted the attribute points from Star Origin World. It was equivalent to the attribute points in Star Origin World disappearing. However, because his real-world body attributes were synchronized in real time with Star Origin World, he experienced this feeling of loss and gain. Finally, I've taken the first step in extracting attribute points, Shen Xingyan murmured softly. Then he didn't idle, directly joining the team of Wang Kai and the others in their labor. An hour later, seeing that the frequency of farmland maintenance prompts began to return to normal, Shen Xingyan directly returned to the real world. Waking up from his bed, he immediately looked at his Star Origin card, where his primordial energy limit had become 19 points, and he began to chuckle. I heard from my teachers at school that the growth of human attributes is far inferior to those of the disasters. Fortunately, there's Star Origin World where one can extract attributes, which barely achieves a balance. Now that I've also embarked on this path of extracting attributes from Star Origin World, I believe this path will become smoother and smoother for me in the future. Chapter 150. I wonder if this increase in my primordial energy limit will have an effect on comprehension skill. I assume that comprehension skill improves the hidden insight attribute, so it shouldn't be like the clone skill, which requires 1 point to manifest, right? Looking at the attribute panel, where his primordial energy limit reached 19 points, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but think. Comprehension skill converts insight at a 2:1 ratio. Normally, 1 point of primordial energy can convert to 0.5 insight. However, due to the attribute panel's design, there are no decimal attribute values, so Shen Xingyan wasn't entirely sure if there would be this 0.5 insight increase. With this thought in mind, Shen Xingyan began his training for the day. He had only trained for an hour when he stopped to check the progress of his skill, to see if the progress per session had decreased after the upgrade. And upon seeing that the progress of level 4 balanced force reached 3.5%, he felt relieved, exclaiming in admiration, "As expected, the hourly progress speed hasn't changed after the upgrade." Although I don't understand the reason, I still hope this speed can be maintained. Maintaining this rate of progress, Shen Xingyin continued to train until nearly 3 o'clock in the afternoon, during which he trained for over 5 hours, bringing the progress of balanced force to 18%. At this point, Shen Xingyin briefly paused his training, adjusting his state while estimating in his mind based on the progress shown on the attribute panel. The next 1 hour of insight time is conservatively estimated to increase progress by 20%, bringing the total progress to 38%. Based on past experience, each hour of training after activating comprehension skill can increase progress by 0.5%. So, the remaining 62% will require nearly 16 hours of training to complete. And according to previous calculations, the harvest time for the 7th acre of strawberry is at 3 a.m. tonight. Excluding 6 hours of rest, I only have 5 hours left for training. It seems that if I want to level up balanced force again, I'll have to wait until tomorrow. After completing his estimation, Shen Xingyin shook his head with some regret. He then replenished his stamina and activated the comprehension skill, which had just finished its cooldown. However, after entering insight time this time, he didn't immediately start training. Instead, he took out a star origin card to check it, wanting to see if his insight value had increased with the 1-point increase in his primordial energy limit. As the familiar attribute panel appeared before him, his gaze fell upon the comprehension skill, Insight. Consumes a corresponding amount of primordial energy to increase a corresponding amount of insight value. Lasts for 1 hour. Skill cooldown is 24 hours. Current insight value, 17.5 points. 17.5 insight value. It seems hidden attributes are indeed different from the 4 major attributes. Even if it hasn't reached a full 1 point, it will still manifest in the body. I wonder how much this 0.5 insight value increase can help me improve my progress. Seeing that just a 1-point increase in primordial energy limit actually increased his insight value, Shen Xingyin was overjoyed. He then stopped overthinking and immediately began training. And in this lucid state caused by the insight increase, Shen Xingyin's 1 hour of training felt incredibly fast to him. In his perception, it felt almost instantaneous when that intoxicating state vanished, and he returned to his usual state. Having experienced this kind of disparity many times, Shen Xingyin skillfully adjusted his emotions, then looked at balanced force. Upon seeing its progress had reached 42%, he was immediately surprised. It's actually 4% more than I expected. Subtracting the previous 18%, I actually gained 24% progress in this 1 hour. Is 0.5 insight value that terrifying? Before, I thought a 1% increase would be good enough. Shen Xingyin couldn't help but shake his head with a touch of emotion at the extent of this progress increase. He truly hadn't expected such a significant boost. It seems that the increase in insight value is not like the 4 major attributes, which are simply straightforward attribute stacking. It truly lives up to being a hidden attribute. Through this incident, Shen Xingyin gained some understanding of hidden attributes. He then no longer hesitated and continued training. He trained for 2 hours straight before reluctantly pausing. As he walked towards the kitchen, he checked his current progress. His eyes lit up upon seeing that the total progress of balanced force had reached 50.2%. In 2 hours of training, my balanced force progress increased by 8.2%. Now, the hourly increase is 4.1%. That extra 0.1% beyond what I expected must be due to the increase in insight value. It seems the increase in insight value really has a significant impact. Shen Xingyin thought with some amusement, but he wasn't particularly surprised. After all, upon seeing the progress increase during insight time, he had vaguely anticipated this boost, and he also became more attentive to the extraction of primordial energy. After dinner, Shen Xingyin went to the planting space and summoned his 4 little skeletons for the day, bringing the total number of little skeletons to 58. After directly handing them over to Wang Kai, he didn't linger and returned directly to the real world. He had to seize every moment to train now, because he would be going to the mysterious extraterritorial world the day after tomorrow. An extra bit of strength meant an extra bit of security. Although this trial was conducted under the protection of school teachers, there were generally no unexpected situations. But that was the extraterritorial world. Anything could happen. Moreover, his current goal was to live well. Only by living could he unleash his potential in the future. Sometimes, he even wanted to propose to the school, not to participate in this trial, after all. Going to the extraterritorial world meant facing risks, which contradicted his idea of staying low-key. However, he had to go, as abnormal behavior would only attract extra attention, which he did not want to see. 3 hours later, in the underground training room, Shen Xingyan stopped training and told his sister to train appropriately and go to bed early. He then returned directly to his room and entered the Star Origin world. And Shen Xingyan was both happy and somewhat puzzled by her brother's obedient return to his room to rest. Logically, brother is going to the extraterritorial world the day after tomorrow, so he should be completely focused on training right now. What's wrong with him today? Chapter 151. Although Shen Xingyan had some questions, she didn't directly ask her brother. Fearing that he might realize and return to his previous state of looking utterly exhausted from training. At this time, Shen Xingyan had already arrived at the planting space, selected the time, and entered a cultivation state, recovering the energy he had expended today. However, immersed in sleep, he didn't see the unusual phenomena beginning to appear in the farmland where the strange seeds were planted. As Shen Xingyan's tenfold cultivation speed activated. At the center of the farmland, where the strange seeds were planted, numerous small star origin particles, both transparent and light green, began to emerge. Moreover, their quantity had reached half of all the previous small particles. With both factors combined, the whirlwind formed by the small particles became even more substantial, madly integrating into Shen Xingyan's body, a spectacular sight that would make anyone who saw it exclaim in awe. Wang Kai, who was working in the farmland, immediately sensed this situation, but after long-term exposure. It found that these small particles had no intention of harming its master, so it didn't pay much attention and continued working. However, its slightly developed intelligence felt a bit puzzled. Why were there so many of these small dust particles? Under these circumstances, Shen Xingyan slept soundly for 6 hours and only slowly woke up after the meditation period ended. As Shen Xingyan's eyes slowly opened, the surrounding anomalies instantly disappeared, and Shen Xingyan, completely unaware of this, was about to stretch comfortably when he heard a prompt from the Star Origin world. Congratulations! Through continuous cultivation, you have gained Primordial Energy Attribute +1. Feeling refreshed, Shen Xingyan quickly got up after hearing this prompt. With a slight thought, he opened his attribute panel, and his gaze fell upon the Primordial Energy section. Seeing that his primordial energy limit had indeed increased by 1 point, reaching 65 points, he immediately beamed with joy. Sleeping for over 10 days has increased my primordial energy by 1 point. This speed is quite good, especially since I don't sleep much every day. This small surprise is a good start to today's actions. I believe there will be continuous good news. Shen Xingyan nodded with some satisfaction, then looked at the professional skill that had just finished cooling down. If it weren't for waiting for the professional skill's cooldown, I probably would have finished harvesting the 7th farmland of strawberries by 10 o'clock last night. Thinking this, Shen Xingyan didn't hesitate. He gently waved the novice staff in his hand, casting the clone skill, then sent the clone, which had changed its appearance, to stand by in the spirit-grade farmland with the mutated seeds. A crop with a 100-day growth cycle, under the acceleration of the skill, means that 10 days' worth of maintenance prompts are concentrated within 1 or 2 hours. It's imaginable how intense the upcoming maintenance prompts will be, and Shen Xingyan already had a prediction for this. He had already planned to handle the maintenance prompts for that farmland together with his clone. After waiting a few more minutes, Shen Xingyan, after his star origin value recovered to 50 points, immediately cast his professional skill. However, the next prompt that appeared made him freeze slightly. Your skill cast requires insufficient primordial energy. Please try again later. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan, somewhat disbelieving, opened his attribute panel. Looking at the display in the primordial energy section, 50/65, he couldn't help but feel puzzled. How can primordial energy be insufficient? 50 primordial energy for 10 farmlands is correct, and there are indeed 50 points in the primordial energy section. What's going on? Shen Xingyan, somewhat confused by the current situation, couldn't help but look around. When his gaze fell upon the farmland where the mutated seeds were planted, he suddenly realized, I really have some habitual thinking, assuming all farmlands require a fixed 5 points of primordial energy. But what's planted this time are spirit-grade mutated seeds, so it's natural for them to require more primordial energy. I just don't know if my current primordial energy can meet its needs. Thinking about it, looking at his primordial energy with a limit of 65 points, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but feel a little lacking in confidence. After all, there was no information about this in the real-world data. Spirit-grade seeds alone were just a legendary name, let alone any detailed information about them. Shen Xingyan, lacking this information, could only rely on his own attempts. He consecutively took a few more primordial energy recovery potions, and after waiting a few minutes, he saw that all his primordial energy had recovered, and the primordial energy section reached 65/65. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan let out a deep breath, once again selected the 10 farmlands in front of him as the skill target, and with a thought, activated his professional skill. As he swung his novice staff, a surge of primordial energy, more intense than ever before, began to appear within his body. The primordial energy surged and began to converge on the novice staff. Seeing such a scene, Shen Xingyan finally felt relieved. There was no direct failure prompt, and the primordial energy was also mobilized, which indicated that the primordial energy he currently possessed was sufficient to meet the needs of the spirit-grade seeds. Ding tilde, it is detected that you are casting a professional skill on some crops that are about to mature. The casting of this skill may fail for these crops. Do you wish to continue? The familiar prompt appeared again, but Shen Xingyan now looked at his primordial energy section and found that it had become 0/65. This mutated seed is quite powerful. It actually consumed all of my primordial energy. You know, all previous crops only consumed 45 primordial energy, but with this spirit-grade farmland, it can use up all 65 points. Meaning a farmland planted with primary spirit-grade crops requires 20 primordial energy to cast a professional skill. This is already 4 times that of a level 3 seed, truly terrifying. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but exclaim. Fortunately, he gained 1 point of primordial energy attribute today. Otherwise, the strange seeds might not have been boosted today. He felt a moment of relief, then turned his gaze back to the star origin warning prompt. I hope my luck can continue to play a role this time. Based on the hidden attribute characteristics, I understood through my comprehension before. Extrapolating from 6 points of luck, I think its effect should be more than what appears on the surface. Shen Xingyan encouraged himself in his heart, and at the same time, nodded and chose to agree to continue casting. Chapter 152. After Shen Xingyan confirmed to proceed, the primordial energy that had gathered for a long time on his staff instantly left, acting on all the farmlands. This naturally included the mutated seed, which was receiving accelerated baptism for the first time. After feeling the effect of Shen Xingyan's skill, the seed, which had shown no signs of sprouting after a day of planting, began to show some slight movement. But at this time, Shen Xingyan did not go to check on the situation of this spirit-grade crop. Instead, he stood in the 7th strawberry farmland that was about to mature, carefully observing whether the strawberries showed any symptomatic changes to determine the outcome of this attempt. Although he knew the results would come out soon, he subconsciously made this move, which was also a way for him to relieve his nervousness. A few seconds later, just as he saw the strawberries showing some improvement, the Star Origins prompt also appeared simultaneously. Congratulations! You have successfully used a professional skill, Farmer Profession Experience +1. After hearing this simple prompt without any suffix, Shen Xingyan felt a wave of comfort in his heart, and his mood returned to normal. Although I can try to break Star Origins records every day and receive quite generous rewards, it always requires such a psychological game of chess, which is a great test for my little heart. Looking at this prompt, which was like winning a gamble, Shen Xingyan smiled and couldn't help but sigh with a touch of vanity. It was fortunate that his sighs could not be heard by others. If such an opportunity were given to others, they would wish their hearts were tested like this all the time. After sighing, Shen Xingyan no longer stayed in the strawberry farmland, but quickly walked to the farmland where the mutated seeds were planted. And together with his clone, he stood ready. A 100-day spirit grade seed, although I don't know its specific use, it still needs special attention. Perhaps it will give me a small surprise in the future. Shen Xingyan murmured softly. However, after more than 10 seconds, when the professional skill effect was completed, and he saw the tiny sprout that had just barely emerged, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but smile helplessly. It truly lives up to its name as a growable spirit grade seed. After a 10-day growth cycle, it can only grow into this. Fortunately, there are no weeding maintenance prompts for the farmland now. Otherwise, for such a tiny thing, I would have to treat it as a weed and dispose of it. As Shen Xingyan couldn't help but softly complain, the Star Origins maintenance prompts began to surge. Especially above the farmland he was currently in, where the speed of their appearance was something Shen Xingyan had never encountered before. Wang Kai, the maintenance of the other farmlands is up to you. My clone and I will specifically deal with this one. Remember to use the Berserk skill when necessary. Shen Xingyan lightly shouted and immediately began to work. After communicating with Wang Kai, who now possessed rudimentary intelligence, it could already understand going all out, which meant Berserk skill, making it much easier for Shen Xingyan to speak. Wang Kai, who had already begun to assign the little skeletons to work, heard its master's command and glanced in its master's direction. Nodding its little skeleton head slightly to indicate that it had received the instruction. On Shen Xingyan's side, with his more than 40 attribute points and the boost from Gale Step, plus his clone's more than 30 attribute points, their combined work efficiency had reached its peak at this stage. However, even under such circumstances, facing the prompts that came down as if they were free, they did not find it easy to cope. As a spirit grade crop, its maintenance frequency was inherently high, with daily maintenance being twice that of strawberries. Furthermore, with the 10-day growth cycle compressed into one, its frequency was equivalent to 4 times that of strawberries under the same conditions. If the little skeletons were to take care of it, it would probably require nearly 20 skeletons to cope with the frequency of these maintenance prompts. This is just one mu of primary spirit grade crop. If my professional level reaches level 40 in the future, and I can plant spirit grade crops comprehensively using planting privileges, I can't even imagine how much labor will be needed then. The number of my little skeletons still needs to reach a certain scale, otherwise, dealing with this will be a troublesome matter. I don't want to be as disheveled as before. Shen Xingyan worked while planning with a hint of emotion, and his demand for talent stones grew stronger. In contrast, Wang Kai's situation was much better than Shen Xingyan's. 58 little skeletons, each with 4 points in all attributes, were dealing with the maintenance prompts for 8 farmlands. And they seemed to be at ease even without using the Berserk skill. Although the onslaught of prompts made the atmosphere a bit tense, under Wang Kai's coordination and the supervision of Lei Fu and Lei Qian, all the little skeletons were working in an orderly manner, without any instances of double prompts. Thus, after an hour and a half of continuous work, the Star Origins maintenance prompts finally ceased, returning to their normal frequency. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan squatted down, looking at the small seedling in front of him, and thinking of the more than an hour he and his clone had spent busy for this little guy. He couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. I wonder if this little guy can be harvested after a 100-day growth cycle, and if there's such a thing as breaking a record. If so, the rewards would be incredibly generous. Maybe there will even be the intermediate and advanced talent stones I've been longing for. Shen Xingyan briefly fantasized in his mind, then moved to the strawberry farmland that prompted harvesting. Now it's up to you. I wonder what kind of reward you'll give me this time. As Shen Xingyan murmured softly, his hands were not slow. He harvested skillfully and efficiently. A few minutes later, with his experienced and simple harvesting method, the last strawberry plant was also successfully stored in his backpack space. At the same time, the Star Origins harvest prompt also appeared. Congratulations, you have planted 600 square meters of strawberries this time. With a harvest yield of 1,200 kilograms, gaining 7,200 farmer profession experience points. Shen Xingyan saw this prompt and chuckled with satisfaction. Today, more than 4 gold coins have arrived. If I harvest another moo of strawberries tomorrow, I can extract primordial energy attributes again. Wouldn't the progress of balanced force increase even faster then? Chapter 153. After Shen Xingyan's long wait of more than 10 seconds, the Xingyuan breakthrough record notification slowly appeared before his eyes. Congratulations. You have once again broken your record of 1,075 kilograms of strawberry yield per moo, successfully reaching 1,200 kilograms. You are specially rewarded with 1 talent skill growth stone. Xingyuan will make a server-wide announcement. Would you like to disclose your information? Shen Xingyan, who had been anticipating the final reward, couldn't help but emit an unusual light in his eyes after seeing this reward. He became excited, indeed. If you keep thinking about it, it will come true. This old saying is truly correct. The talent stone I've been thinking about for so many days has finally reappeared today with the bonus of luck. Although this is already the 4th one I've received, this feeling is still incomparably refreshing. Shen Xingyan had envisioned the appearance of the talent stone many times in his mind, and now that his wish had finally come true, he became exhilarated. With this talent stone, it meant that his speed and quality in accumulating little skeletons would once again receive a huge boost. From now on, he could summon at least 5 little skeletons, with all attributes at 5 into his skeleton team every day, significantly increasing the overall labor capacity of Wang Kai and the others. A smile he couldn't hide spread across his face at this thought. With this talent stone, the speed of accumulating little skeletons will become faster and faster. The previous concern about insufficient labor when planting spirit-grade farmland crops has now been greatly alleviated with this talent stone. In another 2 days, with 68 little skeletons all having attributes of 5, after I use my professional skill, I won't need to do any maintenance work. I can hand over all the farmlands, including the one with mutated seeds, to Wang Kai and the others to manage, and I can confidently choose to let go of control. This way, even during the trial period, I won't have to be too distracted by farmland matters and can still confidently implement the wool-gathering plan. Although Shen Xingyan condemned himself in his conscience and criticized this kind of unearned behavior, the smile on his face grew even wider. At this moment, his gaze at this notification became even more cordial. Cancel server-wide announcement. Shen Xingyan said softly, then took out 100 silver coins and paid the fee. As the 100 silver coins were paid, the Xingyuan announcement notification also disappeared very smoothly, and the reward began to be issued. A black light flashed before Shen Xingyan's eyes, and then the familiar, hoped-for item appeared in his backpack space. Talent Skill Growth Stone. Item, Talent Skill Growth Stone Primary Category, Special Prop Rarity, Rare Quantity, 1 Attribute, Talent Skill Synchronization Growth +1 Background. Formed from some special gravel during the early development of Xingyuan, it developed certain special abilities with the growth and evolution of Star Origin world. Holding the talent stone in his hand, Shen Xingyan carefully examined its attributes and found that it was still a primary talent stone. and its attributes could all be synchronized with the real world, which greatly reassured him. After all, if the talent stone didn't have this attribute, its effect would be greatly reduced. It had been stated in the skill extraction voucher he received earlier that talent skills and professional skills could not be extracted with extraction vouchers. Now that the talent stone retained this synchronization attribute, it saved him an unknown amount of money and effort. After admiring this lovely stone, Shen Xingyan did not use it immediately, but gently put it back into his backpack space. After all, there were still busy things to do in the planting space, and now was not the time to use it. He used the backpack function to separate the strawberry plants and saw that the quality of the crops was still perfect, just like yesterday, and he nodded with satisfaction. He then opened the Star Origin Mall and sold all of them, earning a total of 5 gold, 57 silver, plus 500 copper coins. His total assets also reached 6 gold, 264 silver, and 764 copper coins again. If nothing unexpected happens, tomorrow I will reach 10 gold coins again, and then I can extract primordial energy points. Looking at the amount of money in his wallet, Shen Xingyan silently calculated in his mind. Then looked at the experience bar that showed it had overflowed, and directly clicked to upgrade. As Shen Xingyan confirmed the upgrade, the Xingyuan upgrade notification also appeared simultaneously. Congratulations! Your professional level has increased to level 18, rewarding you with all attributes +2, free attribute points +4, professional skill cooldown time -2%. We hope you will continue to strive and improve. The attribute increase brought by the professional level increase brought with it that enchanting feeling, and Shen Xingyan's physical state instantly reached a peak. He casually added the 4 free attribute points to primordial energy, briefly admired the improved attribute panel, and then put it away with satisfaction. Then, Shen Xingyan and his clone quickly tilled the farmland under their feet, then planted the strawberry seeds, and recorded the planting time to facilitate the estimation of the harvest time later. With everything done, Shen Xingyan saw that all his tasks here were complete. He directly canceled the clone skill, and then took out the talent stone that glowed with a unique black light. Looking up at Wang Kai in the distance and saying, "Wang Kai, I'm leaving this to you now. Take good care of our territory, see you tomorrow." After saying these words, he saw that Wang Kai had turned to look at him. Only then did he smile and click the use option on the talent stone. And with the use of the talent stone, Shen Xingyan's vision predictably went black, and he was directly kicked out of Star Origin World. At this moment, Wang Kai was nodding in response to its master's command, but suddenly felt a familiar abnormality in its body. At the same time, Lei Fu and Laikian also had the same feeling and began to look at their captain Wang Kai. And a hint of excited fluctuation flashed in their empty skeletal eye sockets. Wang Kai, whose intelligence was many times stronger than Lei Fu and Laikian, also knew that its master had used mysterious power again to make them grow again after sensing its own change, and the information transmitted from the 2 skeletons. It stared at the place where Shen Xingyan had left, and joyful fluctuations continuously flickered in its eye sockets. And after receiving Wang Kai's consciousness transmission, Lei Fu and Laikian also looked at the place where their master had disappeared. And the blue-green fluctuations in their eye sockets became intense. Chapter 154. Returning to the real world, Shen Xingyan slowly woke up from the darkness. Although he felt a bit dizzy from being kicked out of the Star Origin world again, a genuine smile spread across his face. This wasn't because he had some masochistic tendencies. It was simply because the gains from this trip were so immense that the slight dizziness became insignificant by comparison. In fact, he even felt that this minor setback was a pleasant addition. After the dizziness subsided, Shen Xingyan's thoughts stirred. He opened his attribute panel through the Star Origin card on his forehead, Talent. Summon Skeleton summons 5 skeleton monsters with all attributes at 5 to fight cooldown, 24 hours. Seeing that his talent skill had indeed transformed into a skill description with 2 5s, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but stretch his limbs comfortably on the bed, his eyes, looking up at the ceiling, forming crescent moons. However, Shen Xingyan's state only lasted for a moment before he instantly teleported to the underground training room with a single thought. Beginning to train the power of balance, racing against time. It was not yet 5 a.m. After training for 2 hours, he quickly went upstairs and made breakfast for his sister. He himself ate a little, and without joining his sister, returned directly to the underground training room. After waking up, Shen Xingyan saw her brother's vigorous training and became a little worried. However, she didn't say anything about it. After all, if she were to put herself in his shoes, if she were going to the extraterritorial world tomorrow, she would probably be nervous enough to start extra training now, let alone her brother. After quickly finishing breakfast, she obediently went to school by herself, a drive to strive for excellence rising within her. Her eyes became resolute as she left the room. Meanwhile, Shen Xingyan, immersed in his power of balance training in the underground training room, was unaware of his sister's change. He continued to train until nearly 3 p.m., when a preset alarm clock pulled him out of that state. The optimized power of balance training is truly becoming more and more comfortable. How did it get so late so quickly? Counting today, I've trained for a total of 10 hours, but it only felt like 1 or 2 hours. If this were before, even with my emptying method, the tedious body refining movements would probably still feel like 7 or 8 hours. As Shen Xingyan sighed with emotion, he also took out his star origin card to check the progress of his power of balance skill. Power of balance level 4, passive, 4 fixed attributes plus 4. Active, consumes 8 primordial energy, activates equilibrium force, can temporarily transfer 8 attribute points to a specified attribute, lasts 2 minutes, cooldown 10 minutes. Current progress, 91.2%. Looking at the 91.2% displayed in the skill description, a faint smile appeared on Shen Xingyan's face. This real-time feedback on his progress, and the progress bar that seemed to rise every moment, kept him highly motivated despite the increased physical exertion. The next hour of insight time will definitely allow me to raise the power of balance to level 5. At that time, another 4 attribute points will be added. Shen Xingyan thought with satisfaction. As he stopped his movements and adjusted his state, he also quickly replenished his food, ensuring his body had enough energy for the upcoming consumption. A few minutes later, as the cooldown for the comprehension skill ended, Shen Xingyan, having adjusted his state, activated it without hesitation. Almost instantly, that feeling of enlightenment surged again, clearing his mind. The increasingly profound, transparent figure also appeared simultaneously, automatically beginning to demonstrate the movements of the power of balance. The little man's movements are truly becoming more profound. My comprehension ability is still increasing too slowly. I can't keep up with his progress. Shen Xingyan sighed after seeing the little man's movements. He then boosted his spirits, imitating the little man's movements, while his enhanced comprehension ability also played its part, allowing him to grasp the profound meaning within the movements. After about half an hour, a refreshing sensation of overall improvement quickly enveloped Shen Xingyan. He immediately understood the reason. The power of balance skill had leveled up, but he didn't stop to check the skill. He continued to experience the little man's movements as before, until the insight time ended, when he slowly ceased his body's movements. The movements during training feel much more comfortable now. Maybe in the future, I'll truly be able to forget the existence of time while training. Feeling the state he had just been in, Shen Xingyan sighed softly. Then he took out his star origin card and directly checked the power of balance after this upgrade, power of balance level 5. Passive, 4 fixed attributes plus 5. Active, consumes 10 primordial energy, activates equilibrium force, can temporarily transfer 10 attribute points to a specified attribute, lasts 2 minutes, cooldown 10 minutes. Current progress, 15.2%. Seeing that the passive attribute of equilibrium force had increased by another 1 point. and that the active transfer of attributes had reached 10 points, Shen Xingyan nodded slightly. These were all within his expectations. However, when his gaze fell upon the skill progress, which showed 15.2%, he was momentarily stunned, then broke into a relieved smile. Sure enough, strange things are still happening. I wonder how long this rapid improvement can continue. He had already given up on researching this strange phenomenon. As long as it could continue, it was a good thing. He then briefly checked his attributes in the real-world name. Shen Xingyan ID, 118,120,431 to 9527. Profession, Farmer Professional Skill. 1. Consumes a certain amount of primordial energy points to increase the growth rate of crops within a specified range by plus 10%. The larger the range, the more primordial energy points consumed. Duration, 10 hours. Skill cooldown, 24 hours. Power of balance level 5 strength, 19 agility, 19 physique, 20 spirit, 15 HP, 200/200 primordial energy, 19/19 stamina, 10/20 physical attack. 19 spell attack, 15 defense, 20 speed, 19 talent. Summon skeleton summons 5 skeleton monsters with all attributes at 5 to fight cooldown, 24 hours. Chapter 155. After admiring his attributes, Shen Xingyan retracted the attribute panel and began his training. After a comfortable 2-hour workout, he slowly stopped his movements. At this point, he saw that the progress of the equilibrium force had reached 24.6%, an increase of 9.4% compared to 2 hours ago. This meant the progress increase per hour had become 4.7%, which did not surprise him. After all, this progress would increase every time he used a comprehension skill, and he was already accustomed to this. Temporarily stopping his training, Shen Xingyan went downstairs and had a good dinner with his sister, recovering some of his stamina. Seeing that his talent skills cooldown was about to finish, he then went to Star Origin World. As soon as he stood still in his planting space, little skeleton Wangkai approached him at an extremely fast speed for it, slightly tilting its little skeleton head to look at Shen Xingyan. Shen Xingyan saw that Wangkai had grown a bit sturdier and was almost at his chest height. He smiled and patted it. Then, with a thought, he checked Wangkai's attributes and found that, as always, with the upgrade of his talent skill, all of Wangkai's attributes had also become 5 points. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan nodded slightly, expressing his satisfaction, and then began to cast his talent skill, Summon Skeleton. As a series of strange notes emanated from Shen Xingyan's mouth, the ground in front of him began to tremble violently. Now that the quantity and attributes of the talent skill, Summon Skeleton, had increased, the commotion created when Shen Xingyan cast the summon skill became increasingly larger. A few seconds later, Shen Xingyan finished chanting, and 5 little skeletons, whose physiques had once again improved, appeared in his planting space. Shen Xingyan checked them one by one and found that they were indeed all little skeletons with all attributes at 5. Seeing this, he couldn't help but nod slightly. His skeleton army had officially expanded to 63, bringing him one step closer to 100 skeleton legion. Seeing these 5 little skeletons, which were clearly a size larger than Wangkai, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but look at Wangkai and softly asked, "Wangkai, these little skeletons are all under your command. If there are any rebellious skeletons you can't control, you must point them out to me, and I'll help you establish your authority." Shen Xingyan made an inference based on a human's basic thinking, fearing that the slender Wangkai would be bullied by these strong little skeletons. He even worried about situations where Wangkai couldn't control them due to similar attributes or skeleton bullying, which would upset his Wangkai. That's why he said this. Upon hearing his master's words, Wangkai looked at its master with some confusion. At this moment, its nascent intelligence didn't understand why its master would have such thoughts, but it still nodded slightly. Shen Xingyan saw Wangkai, which already had the most basic responsive movements, and his smile widened. Then he told Wangkai to take the 5 new little skeletons to work in the farmland. His gaze then shifted to the farmland in front of him, and seeing it full of vitality everywhere, his mood brightened accordingly. However, the farmland plot with the mutated seeds was still bare, looking particularly glaring. He slowly walked over, squatted down, and looked at the small sprouts that were exactly the same as when he left, and also gently shook his head. He then checked the 8th strawberry farmland that was about to mature, and combining the professional skill cooldown time with the planting time of this strawberry, as well as the time required to break the record again, finally concluded that 10 p.m. was a more suitable time for harvest. After determining the time, Shen Xingyan didn't wait any longer here. He quickly opened the Star Origin Mall, bought a large amount of daily necessities and things his sister would need after he left, and extracted them one by one into the real world. Afterward, he also returned to the real world. After carefully placing all the items from his temporary space, his storage space was no longer as empty as before. He walked to the kitchen and organized the extracted ingredients and some meat, making it convenient for his sister to use in the coming days. By the time Shen Xingyan had handled all of this and slowly walked to the underground training room, he saw his sister there without any surprise. "Brother, you're going to the extraterritorial world for trials tomorrow. You should rest well and conserve your energy. Why are you still here training?" Shen Xingyan said with a helpless frown when she saw her brother arrive. Shen Xingyan smiled and replied, "Don't worry, I'll go back to rest after training for a while. I'll definitely conserve my energy." Shen Xingyan felt warmth in his heart from his sister's concern. And he also knew that in this dangerous world, only his sister and Chu Wai truly cared about him, so he cherished this greatly. Shen Xingyan felt relieved after hearing her brother say that. Then, she playfully urged her brother to prepare everything in advance, as buying things in the extraterritorial world would mean buying from Star Origin World, which would cost a lot of money. Shen Xingyan chuckled, looking at his sister, his little money-saving manager. "However, my sister did remind me, tomorrow I need to symbolically bring some food and supplies. After all, based on my image in others' eyes, I really can't afford the expensive function of a temporary storage space." Shen Xingyan thought for a moment and felt that this matter was very necessary, so he included it in his plan. Then he continued his training. With the existence of the storage space, these deceptions could be prepared just before he left. Under the acceleration of training time, more than 3 hours passed in a flash. Shen Xingyan saw that the progress of the equilibrium force had increased to 40%, so he stopped, ended his training with his sister, and slowly walked towards the first floor. "Brother, you must take good care of yourself when you go to the extraterritorial world tomorrow. I heard this trial won't be short. If you have any difficulties, remember to tell Sister Weiwei. Don't be too embarrassed to ask." Shen Xingyan, transformed into a caring sister, kept giving Shen Xingyan advice. Shen Xingyan smiled and ruffled his sister's hair, saying, "During these days that I'm gone, you're the one who should take good care of yourself. I've already filled the kitchen with ingredients and food. Be careful when you cook yourself. You underestimate me." Shen Xingyan pouted, then launched into a self-praise, talking about how excellent her cooking was, which made Shen Xingyan chuckle and also relieved him quite a bit. After all, although there was exaggeration in his sister's words, taking care of herself was not a problem. After returning to his room, Shen Xingyan connected to Star Origin World, preparing for the professional skill casting on the 8th strawberry plot tonight. Chapter 156. Shen Xingyan's figure slowly appeared within the planting space, but this time Wang Kai did not come to greet him as usual. Shen Xingyan looked around and chuckled lightly to himself, muttering, "What a coincidence, I just arrived here and saw a monster invasion. It seems this monster invasion event is truly random." And just as he said, Wang Kai and his little skeletons were currently dealing with a wave of invading monsters. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan initially wanted to lend a hand and quickly help resolve the situation. However, after seeing that only a few little rabbits were left and were being ganged up on by the little skeletons, he sighed and shook his head, immediately dismissing the idea. He chuckled and walked to today's target farmland. After gently standing still, he first used clone technique to generate a clone with 34 points in all attributes, preparing for the intense labor ahead. With the existence of the clone, plus the 63 little skeletons he now had, each with 5 points in all attributes, the combined labor force was completely sufficient to handle the farmland maintenance prompts after casting his professional skill. This naturally included the farmland where the mutated seeds were planted. Shen Xingyan had great confidence in the labor capabilities of his clone and Wang Kai. After taking the primordial energy recovery potion, while waiting for his primordial energy to recover, Shen Xingyan did not sit idle. Instead, he opened the Star Origin Mall. He began to search for some special items, such as ropes, backpacks, daggers, and primordial energy flashlights, all of which were relatively common items. After all, starting tomorrow, he needed to pretend that his attributes hadn't improved much, and that he could only rely on some basic small items to enhance his survival and combat abilities. Unless absolutely necessary, he needed to hide his combat power as much as possible, and the hiding techniques involved were knowledge he needed to thoroughly explore. After selecting some cheap goods, Shen Xingyan completed their extraction. Only then did he close the Star Origin Mall, his gaze returning to the farmland in front of him. While Shen Xingyan was doing this shopping operation, the little skeletons had also completed the cleanup work of this monster invasion and returned to the farmland to begin their labor. He then observed the labor situation of the little skeletons for a while and found that their work efficiency had indeed increased significantly after their attributes were improved. Roughly, the current 60-odd little skeletons could match the previous 80-odd, and this was without using the Berserk skill. If used, it would be equivalent to 60-odd newly awakened versions of himself spread across the entire farmland. And their focus and stamina would be incomparable to his past self. Calculating everything, the significant improvement in Wang Kai's labor capacity caused Shen Xingyan, as their master, to nod slightly in approval and satisfaction. While Shen Xingyan was analyzing the current situation, his primordial energy had also fully recovered. Seeing this, he no longer hesitated and immediately took out his novice staff to cast his professional skill. As Shen Xingyan's thought of activate professional skill arose, primordial energy began to surge within his body and rapidly condense onto the staff. At the same time, the old friend prompt from Star Origin World appeared. Ding tilde, it has been detected that you are casting a professional skill on some crops that are about to mature. There is a possibility of failure when casting this skill on these crops. Do you wish to continue? Upon seeing this prompt, Shen Xingyan did not rush to click confirm. Given the previous consecutive successful skill casts, he couldn't help but wonder if his luck value might be temporarily ineffective. And to deal with this problem, he also had his own little method. He quietly prayed for a while, specifically inviting and thanking the goddess of luck for her care. And then, like a last-minute effort, he gently bowed several times towards the Star Origin world. After this small ritual ended, he then gently nodded to indicate confirm to continue casting. And as if the old friend prompt, somewhat impatient with Shen Xingyan's delay, it disappeared almost instantly after he finally confirmed. And at the same time, the primordial energy that had accumulated on the staff instantly detached and acted upon all the farmlands. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan, as before, slowly squatted down, brought his face close to the strawberry plants, and meticulously examined them without blinking. In this long wait, where every second felt like a year, a few seconds later, the subtle change he had been anticipating finally appeared before Shen Xingyan's eyes. And at the same time, the Star Origin prompt appeared as his lips curled into a slight smile. Congratulations, you have successfully cast your professional skill. Farmer profession experience points +1. The gambler, Shen Xingyan, having won this gamble again, now stood up with a slight smile. Looking at all the farmlands that were undergoing visible changes as the skill was successfully cast. Seeing this, a hint of relaxed amusement also appeared in his eyes. Almost all 8 acres of strawberry farmland were successful. The only failure was when it was with the tomato, but even then, the loss wasn't significant. Before I received the luck value reward, I failed after just harvesting level 3 crops, and they were crops with a very short growth period. But now that the growth cycle has increased, I can succeed every time. This shows that the bonus from 6 points of luck value is truly terrifying. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but exclaim. Then he sent his clone and 10 little skeletons to the acre of farmland where the mutated seeds were planted, to deal with the upcoming star origin maintenance prompts. He let Wang Kai arrange the others as he saw fit, while he himself directly activated harvest mode. He looked at the strawberry farmland beneath his feet, a harmless smile on his face. After about 10 seconds, the effect of his professional skill was fully realized, and all the crops received a 10% increase in their growth cycle. Maintenance prompts began to flood in from above the other farmlands, and a mature, harvestable symbol also appeared above the farmland beneath Shen Xingyan's feet. Seeing this, Shen Xingyan, who had long been poised and ready, stepped with gale step and immediately began his aggressive harvest. A few minutes later, this acre of farmland was harvested clean under his rapid efficiency, with not a single strawberry plant remaining. As all the strawberry plants were collected into Shen Xingyan's backpack space, at the same time, the star origin harvest prompts began to echo in his ears. Congratulations! You have planted 600 square meters of strawberries this time, with a yield of 1250 kilograms, earning 7,500 farmer profession experience points. Upon seeing this yield, Shen Xingyan nodded in satisfaction, thinking to himself, this time, breaking the star origin world record is a sure thing. Chapter 157. After seeing the star origin notification, Shen Xingyan did not immediately check the rewards mentioned in the notification, but instead stood there quietly, waiting for the announcement of today's record-breaking reward. And Star Origin World also followed the rules, directly informing him of the answer with a notification after more than 10 seconds. Congratulations! You have once again broken your record of 1,200 kilograms of strawberries per moo, successfully reaching a yield of 1,250 kilograms. You are specially rewarded with a skill special item. A skill extraction voucher. Professional skills, talent skills are invalid. Star Origin will make a full zone announcement. Would you like to make the information public? Seeing that the reward this time was a skill extraction voucher, a familiar item that had appeared a few days ago. Shen Xingyan's expression remained calm on the surface, without showing too much excitement, as if this reward was just average for him. However, from the uncontrollable curve of his lips, it could be seen that his heart was not as calm as it appeared. Another good item that is very useful to me. With this extraction ticket, my clone technique can be extracted into the real world. Although my primordial energy attribute in the real world is not high right now, even if I extract a bit of primordial energy today, it will only barely reach 20 points. The clone generated by these attribute points will only have 10 points in all attributes, just like my attributes when I first awakened, so its combat power is indeed a bit weak. But in this perilous world, especially since I am about to go to the extraterritorial world, the role of the clone is not just for combat. Probing for danger is one of its important functions. Now that I have such a skill, for this trip to the extraterritorial world, I have an additional means to deal with crises. Thinking of this, Shen Xingyan's gaze involuntarily turned to the clone working in the farmland, and he thought to himself, with attributes exactly the same as my previous ones. If the clone's appearance can be exactly the same as my own, then it should have a miraculous effect on hiding my special nature. However, just as Shen Xingyan was thinking this, a message was sent back from the clone. I can, what? Shen Xingyan, upon receiving this message, instantly teleported to stand opposite the clone. He saw that the clone, who was currently working, was transforming its face, height, and even its clothes to match Shen Xingyan's appearance. In a short while, another Shen Xingyan, dressed completely as a farmer, appeared before Shen Xingyan. Witnessing this change, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but open his mouth slightly in surprise, his face full of disbelief. The appearance of this clone can actually be controlled by my own consciousness. I thought before that it could only be generated automatically. This is pretty cool. But then again, the clone is, after all, formed by the convergence of primordial energy. And with the versatility of primordial energy combined with the addition of autonomous consciousness, it seems reasonable that it can change. This discovery immediately made Shen Xingyan happy. In that case, the usefulness of extracting the clone into the real world would greatly increase. Shen Xingyan, in a cheerful mood, then checked on Wang Kai and the others' work, and saw that under the assault of the accelerated maintenance notifications, they were as steady as Mount Tai, without any sense of panic. Moreover, there had been no phenomenon of double notifications appearing above the farmland during this period. Seeing this, he no longer distracted himself and began to attend to his next tasks. Shen Xingyan took out 100 silver coins to cancel the full zone announcement, then opened his backpack space and looked at the ancient-looking yellow paper. Without further delay, he directly clicked to use it. Please confirm the skill to be extracted, clone technique. This time, the notification did not present a choice like last time, as he only had the clone technique skill that could be extracted at the moment. As Shen Xingyan nodded in confirmation, the yellow paper slowly rose into the air. The aura from its spontaneous combustion instantly entered Shen Xingyan's body. As if a ritual had been completed, and only then was his clone technique extracted into the real world. Shen Xingyan watched this strange phenomenon disappear, and with a smile, he slowly nodded. Another rare skill extracted into the real world made his heart feel delighted. At the same time, he didn't let his hands idle, immediately beginning to cultivate the farmland beneath his feet. When it was time to plant strawberries, he called Wang Kai to help. And Wang Kai, who hadn't planted crop seeds with its master for a long time, now displayed a sense of joy in its agile movements and the slight swaying of its body in subtle places, creating a stark contrast in its demeanor compared to the other little skeletons. Shen Xingyan naturally noticed this phenomenon, delighted by Wang Kai's improved emotional expression, and felt a wave of relief in his heart. After the man and the skeleton finished their work on the farmland, Shen Xingyan sold all the crops in his backpack space to the Star Origin Mall, receiving 5 gold, 267 silver, and 500 copper coins. After the Star Origin coins were credited, his total assets also reached 11 gold, 124 silver, and 462 copper. Seeing that the number of gold coins had broken through 10 as expected, Shen Xingyan did not hesitate and immediately spent 10 gold coins to extract 1 point of primordial energy into the real world. After briefly experiencing the sensation of primordial energy disappearing and returning, Shen Xingyan looked at the experience bar on his attribute panel. 14,509/10,000. It's time to upgrade again. Before awakening, I would never have thought that I could reach this rank in just 1 month. At this speed, even the top combat professionist from the same period in the Central District must have been left behind by me. Shen Xingyan sighed softly, and with a thought, he directly clicked the upgrade icon. Congratulations, your professional rank has been raised to rank 19. You are rewarded with +2 to all attributes, +4 free attribute points, and a 2% reduction in professional skill cooldown time. We hope you continue to strive and improve. As the rank upgrade notification appeared, that comfortable feeling once again enveloped Shen Xingyan, but when he saw the attribute panel, he showed a wry smile. The experience bar now displayed 4509/20,000. Why has the experience required to upgrade to rank 20 increased to 20,000 points? I knew before that threshold ranks require more experience, but I didn't expect it to double directly. It seems it will be difficult to upgrade by relying on strawberry harvests in the future. Fortunately, once I reach rank 20, I can use my privilege to plant rank 4 crops, and the experience gained should increase significantly then. Moreover, the ranch function will also be activated at that time. Combining the two, dealing with tens of thousands of experience points should be a bit easier. Chapter 158. Shen Xingyan gently shook his head, analyzing the situation, then allocated 4 free attribute points to primordial energy. Afterward, he briefly checked the attribute panel, where all his attributes had been enhanced. Especially his professional skill, its cooldown reduction had reached 27%, saving nearly 7 hours of cooldown time. If he weren't planning his wool-gathering strategy, he would have an extra chance to cast his professional skill every 3 or 4 days, further boosting the growth rate of his crops. And as his level increased, this boost would become even more significant. My professional skill has improved so much without me even realizing it. I really want to know what state it will be in when it's fully leveled up. Shen Xingyan thought with some anticipation, then closed the attribute panel. However, my future career path is truly long and arduous. Shen Xingyan sighed softly, his feet not stopping as he went directly to help Wang Kai and the others deal with the maintenance prompts. Although with his clones and Wang Kai, there was already some surplus labor to handle this wave of prompts. But Shen Xingyan still chose to participate, as he wouldn't have time to work in the coming days. The extraterritorial world was not like home, where he could stay in the star origin world for extended periods. He needed to maintain a constant state of readiness there. Even a moment of distraction was a major taboo, let alone his consciousness being separated from his body for a long time. With Shen Xingyan's participation, an hour later, the star origin maintenance prompts began to return to normal. At the same time, Shen Xingyan stopped working and went to the farmland with the mutated seeds, carefully checking the growth of this spirit-grade seed. He saw that after this skill acceleration, its state was only slightly better than before, having grown from a small sprout to a larger one. His thoughts lingered on it as he checked its attributes, which only displayed mutated seedling, without any detailed description. Shen Xingyan, curious about this, had no choice but to wait for time to reveal the answer. Seeing that everything else was slowly settling into routine maintenance work, Shen Xingyan then went to his usual spot by the field, activated origin energy cultivation, and entered a meditative state, conserving his energy for tomorrow's trial in the extraterritorial world. As origin energy cultivation began, Shen Xingyan quickly fell into a state of sleep. At this time, under the 10x training speed bonus, numerous transparent and light green particles swarmed towards Shen Xingyan's body. And the number of particles emitted by the mutated seed, which had undergone 2 professional skill accelerations from Shen Xingyan, had now far exceeded the sum of all the others. This further boosted Shen Xingyan's already 10x training speed, seemingly reaching over 20x. Shen Xingyan, completely unaware of this, was sleeping soundly. It wasn't until the 7 hours of origin energy cultivation ended, and the surrounding particles instantly disappeared, that he slowly woke from his dream. Feeling a sense of lightness, Shen Xingyan stretched his body broadly. His full mental state made him feel very comfortable. Standing up, Shen Xingyan walked to the warehouse, which he hadn't opened in a long time. He took out 10 kg from the 100 kg of wheat stored inside and extracted it to the real world, as this was what he had promised Chu Wai earlier. Although he felt a bit embarrassed now, he could only go through with it, upholding the idea that a small gift carries deep meaning. After giving Wang Kai a few instructions for the upcoming matters, he directly exited the star origin world. His vision went black, and Shen Xingyan, waking up on his bed in the real world, quickly packed his disguised backpack and sorted the items he had extracted from the star origin world into his storage space. After carefully checking everything and finding no omissions, he then walked to the kitchen, preparing to make breakfast for 2. When he arrived in the kitchen, he saw his sister awkwardly operating the cooking utensils. Although her movements seemed stiff, Shen Xingyan observed for a moment and felt that she was actually doing quite well. He let her continue, as she would need to take care of herself for the next few days, and with him there, it was a good chance for her to get used to it. Shen Xingyan turned and sat down at the dining table, Sitting and waiting for his sister to cook for the first time, he felt a sense of relief. "Here it comes, big brother, hurry and try what I made, it's delicious." As soon as the food was on the table, Shen Xingyin's self-praise came out. Shen Xingyin readily began to taste it, while reminding himself that even if it wasn't that good, he still had to praise her well to build her confidence. However, after a few bites, Shen Xingyin felt that the food was actually quite good. While the taste wasn't exceptional, it was certainly of a good standard. For this unexpected pleasant surprise, Shen Xingyin naturally praised her without reservation. His brother's reaction and praise made Shen Xingyin, whose eyes were full of anticipation, instantly reveal a look of smug satisfaction on her small face. Then, amidst a mix of self-praise and being praised, the two chatted and laughed as they finished their breakfast. Throughout the meal, Shen Xingyin didn't forget to remind his sister to pay attention to safety while at home, saying that even though they were in the inner ring and there were many people around, she shouldn't let her guard down. Hearing this, Shen Xingyin nodded obediently again and again, indicating that she would definitely pay attention. After all, this was the first time the siblings would be separated for so long since they grew up, which was a huge change and challenge for both of them. Afterward, the two walked to school together. On the way to school, Shen Xingyin also saw many familiar classmates from his year. Some, like Shen Xingyin, carried large bags and wore a bunch of cheap, plain equipment. Others, however, carried no extra items, clearly possessing temporary storage space. Their exquisite equipment made some familiar classmates around them envious. For this annual trial, many people also went to school accompanied by their parents. However, upon reaching the school gate, they all consciously stopped, only able to wait outside the entrance. The scale today is quite large. Why are there so many patrolmen maintaining order? Is some important figure coming? After walking to the school and waving goodbye to his sister, Shen Xingyin looked at the patrolmen he had seen along the way and everywhere around him. This made him, who had observed the preparations for many trials, feel a sense of confusion. Chapter 159. Shen Xingyin, what are you spacing out for? At this moment, a familiar voice came from behind Shen Xingyin, full of joy and enthusiasm, making one feel a warmth upon hearing it. Shen Xingyin naturally knew who the owner of this voice was. He smiled and turned around, looking at Chu Wai, whom he hadn't seen in a month, and couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. When we separated right after my awakening, I thought the gap between us would only grow, and I felt very inferior. But after this month's experiences, I'm much more at ease now. Shen Xingyin sighed in his heart and said gently, "Long time no see, Chu Wai." Chu Wai patted Shen Xingyin's shoulder forcefully, playfully teasing him about his overly formal words, and then began to pull things out of her star origin card in a rush. These are all high-quality defensive gear and some accessories. The defensive gear mainly increases defense and HP, while the accessories increase physical attack. You can use all of them. Chu Wai introduced them with a relaxed tone, while forcefully pushing them into Shen Xingyin's hands. Her words were full of an indifferent expression, as if she was afraid Shen Xingyin would find them too valuable and refuse to accept them. Shen Xingyin naturally knew the market price of these high-quality items. These items, which would cost at least dozens of silver coins in the Star Origin world, would cost hundreds of silver coins or even 1 or 2 gold coins to extract into the real world. Although this amount of money was indeed negligible for Shen Xingyin now, if he wanted to buy them, with the gold coins he earned in a single day, he might not be able to buy perfect-grade equipment, but he could easily afford high-value advanced ones. However, for Shen Xingyin, this gesture was extremely precious. So he accepted all of them without ceremony, and his action was met with Chu Wai's radiant smile, like a spring flower. Then Shen Xingyin hesitated for a moment, but still took out the bag of wheat, saying somewhat helplessly, "This is the first acre of wheat I planted. Although it's not very valuable, it has a certain commemorative significance." He handed it over directly, feeling a little embarrassed to exchange a small bag of wheat for such a set of equipment, but Chu Wai didn't think so. Seeing the bag of wheat, she immediately took it, gently grabbed a handful, felt the granularity of the wheat, and then put it into her storage space. Then, with a joyful expression, she said, "Don't worry, leave it to me. I will cherish it carefully." Seeing Chu Wai's heartwarming gesture, Shen Xingyan's mood brightened even more. Then the two slowly walked to the designated meeting place. During their conversation, Shen Xingyan also asked the question he had earlier. Chu Wai, who obviously knew the specific situation, frowned and said somewhat displeased, "For this outdoor trial, those from the Central District were assigned to us, which is why there are so many patrolmen from the North District." HMPH, what a discriminatory treatment. Chu Wai was clearly dissatisfied with the base's discriminatory treatment, but she couldn't openly express her feelings. She could only relieve her emotions by chatting with Shen Xingyan. Upon hearing this, Shen Xingyan suddenly understood and nodded, instantly comprehending the unusual situation from earlier. "I heard from my parents that a disaster invasion occurred in our extraterritorial world a few days ago. The big figures from the Central District personally went to our trial location and conducted a sweep, fearing that their little darlings would suffer any accidental harm during this trial." Chu Wai softly told Shen Xingyan what she had learned. Shen Xingyan frowned upon hearing this. He didn't think there was any problem with people from the Central District coming. After all, everyone values their own children, and besides, this would make the trial safer, which was something he welcomed. The reason he frowned was that he thought of the skinny patrolman's earlier warning and connected it to the recent disaster invasion, naturally linking the two. If it weren't for the trial, something serious almost happened this time. It seems that the decision to move was indeed a very correct one. It seems the old saying, "Listen to advice and you'll eat your fill," is still very applicable. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but think. While the two were chatting, the time was approaching the scheduled departure. At this moment, an unusual movement came from the distant sky. Shen Xingyan and the others turned their heads to look, only to see a spaceship appear above them in the blink of an eye, slowly docking over the school. Subsequently, noble young men and women of similar age to Shen Xingyan and the others leaped down from the spaceship. But upon landing, they were enveloped by an invisible force, allowing them to land safely. This is the prestige of the Central District. Their entrance is truly imposing. I'm so envious. I really want to study in the Central District, but it's impossible for me. Later, I'll make sure my children go there. Look at the equipment on them, that luster. Aren't they all the highest level of advanced grade? As the people from the Central District arrived, a chorus of admiring voices rose around them, mostly expressing worship and longing. However, Shen Xingyan and Chu Wai felt nothing about it, only thinking that this method was too showy, and it didn't leave a good first impression on them. This North District truly lives up to its reputation as the poorest place. Even the school is built so shabbily. It's truly an eye-opener. After landing and seeing their surroundings, these trial participants from the Central District couldn't help but mock their companions in soft voices. The strong sense of superiority in their tone made the nearby North District school guides somewhat displeased. But they didn't say much, as the others indeed had the right to comment like that. Stop talking so much nonsense. Focusing on improving yourselves is the main thing. Accumulating practical combat experience in this trial is the real business. One young man, clearly dressed in more elaborate equipment, softly reprimanded them, which made the people around him stop their display of superiority. The dozens of team leaders from the Central District, seeing this young man's proactive speech, all nodded in satisfaction. Liu Yu's truly lives up to his reputation as one of the leading figures of this generation. It's truly commendable that he can speak such sensible words. The team leaders nodded and praised. Liu Yu's, who was being praised by them after saying these words, cast a sidelong glance towards the other side, where a beautiful woman with a cool, aloof aura was standing. Chapter 160. Students, this is your last gathering before graduation. From now on, you will each shine in your respective fields. To help you adapt to the upcoming life as quickly as possible, the school has specially arranged a trial. And for the smooth progress of the upcoming trial, hundreds of people from our North District and Central District will accompany you to ensure everyone's safety. However, everyone must remember that the extraterritorial world is not within the base. Its danger level is unpredictable. Although we have made very thorough preparations, we cannot guarantee 100% safety. Therefore, everyone must be careful when outside. Please keep the alarm wristbands that will be distributed to you shortly. If you encounter a situation that you truly cannot overcome or is dangerous, remember, be sure to press the alarm button in time. Our accompanying personnel will quickly arrive and take you away. Although pressing the alarm also means you have lost the qualification for the trial and are out of the running for the final reward. However, nothing is more important than your life. Your future path is still long. Do not let any unexpected situations occur just because of this small setback. At the trial assembly point, the principal of the North District stood on the central high platform, explaining the precautions for this trial. Although Shen Xingyan and the others below had already learned the relevant information, they still listened intently. After all, this concerned whether they could return safely from this trip to the extraterritorial world. No amount of pondering was too much. Of course, this trip to the extraterritorial world will, as always, have a safety zone set up by the school. Life professionals can stay there to engage in professional activities, provide logistical supplies for combat professionists, or sell them to the base for corresponding money. They can also go out to explore resources within controllable limits, but they must pay attention to safety. This trial will last for 1 week. Under the premise of ensuring safety, the final results will be comprehensively judged by the quantity and rank of killed disasters, as well as the gains in materials. The North District principal spoke about many matters on the stage, emphasizing safety repeatedly in every detail. Although this trial was a welfare-oriented activity, there were always various special incidents each year, making the school a heavily criticized area. The school had even considered canceling it at one point. However, the base considered this a necessary link in the transition from student to warrior, so it defied all objections and persisted, even elevating its importance. After the principal's speech concluded, alarm devices in the style of wristbands appeared simultaneously before Shen Xingyan and the others. After reaching out, Shen Xingyan scanned this device that could emit a location signal, then put it on his wrist. Shen Xingyan, this time you should stay in the safety zone. If you want to encounter disasters, stay around the safety zone, don't go too deep. If there's any danger, quickly run back or press the alarm wristband, understand. At this moment, Chu Wai whispered in Shen Xingyan's ear, her words full of concern. Although Chu Wai knew that Shen Xingyan had a full attribute awakening, she also knew that the attributes of extraterritorial world disasters, relying on 10 points for all attributes, were simply not enough. Yesterday, she barely raised her Star Origin World Professional rank to 10 and extracted all the rewarded attribute points to the real world. Even so, her parents were still worried, which showed how powerful the extraterritorial world disasters were. Shen Xingyan nodded gently in agreement, as this was also his original plan. With his 2 powerful skills, all he could do was try to lie low as much as possible. Regarding his hatred for disasters, as the old saying goes, a gentleman's revenge is not too late in 10 years. Besides, he didn't need to wait that long. Moreover, he now had the clone skill, which he could use from the clone's perspective to explore the situation in the extraterritorial world, minimizing risk. Seeing Shen Xingyan agree, Chu Wai finally smiled with relief. She was really afraid that Shen Xingyan would act on impulse and insist on directly confronting the disasters. Afterward, Shen Xingyan and the others boarded primordial energy vehicles heading for the extraterritorial world, speeding towards the extraterritorial world's trial area. The people from the Central District had different treatment. They returned to the spaceship and moved towards the North District's extraterritorial world at a near-instantaneous speed, like a short-distance teleportation. More than an hour later, the fast vehicles successfully passed the wall that Shen Xingyin had looked up at countless times. After a period of darkness, the extraterritorial world was revealed to Shen Xingyin and the others. Witnessing the vast expanse of towering trees in the distance, Shen Xingyin and the others immediately became excited. Whether combat professionist or non-combat professionist, their gazes towards that area were filled with longing. For them, it was not only a broader world, but also a huge hidden treasure trove. They often heard stories within the base about someone obtaining a rare fruit or some serendipitous encounter, and their status immediately skyrocketing. Within the base, such things were not uncommon, which also led to their imaginations being filled with this world. However, beneath opportunity inevitably lay hidden immense danger, and they knew this. If it weren't for the high safety of this trial, they wouldn't have participated so actively. The vehicles left the boundary wall and traveled further, finally stopping in an open area with a wide view. "Students, we have arrived. After getting off, come to me to receive an access token for the safety zone, which also serves to record time." Upon arriving, the person in charge of the vehicle began to give instructions. Shen Xingyin and Chu Wai got out of the car, their feet firmly planted on the ground of this extraterritorial world. This soil looks very fertile. If it weren't for the world, after the primordial energy eruption, not being suitable for planting, this place would be quite suitable for farming. Out of professional habit, Shen Xingyin felt the touch of the soil under his feet, thinking subconsciously. At this time, this wide area had already gathered many people, including those who had established the safety zone here, and the Central District trial participants who had arrived early by spaceship. These surroundings should have been set up with a formation by advanced formation masters. Look at the formation flags in those important locations. They are clearly not ordinary items. After Chu Wai and Shen Xingyin got out of the car, they also observed the surrounding environment. And based on her parents' explanations, she told Shen Xingyin everything she knew. Shen Xingyin listened quietly, nodding gently from time to time, his eyes keenly observing everything around him. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more updates and new uploads.